What's going on, guys? Welcome to the SnobNation Morning Drive Live Show. I am your host, Mick Manhattan. It is just going to be me today, and hopefully you guys are out there watching and we're hanging out. I love hanging out with the SnobNation on Friday mornings. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to get into some conversations, and we're going to really just have a good time. So let's get into it. So when we get started, I am generally, kind of looking over the news every morning and seeing what's going on first. That's one of my main prep things, like right as I get up. What I do is I set up the tabs at night, have all my news outlets, things like that. Then I'll go into it. And then the next morning is really when you check the news, you refresh everything, make sure you're up to date on what's going on. Oh, let me turn my fan on. It gets hot in here real quick. So as I was doing that this morning, I'm looking up some things, and one of the things that recently had just come up is that there was some bullying happening to a young lady in New Jersey. That's my home state, of course, so it kind of caught my eye when I was checking it out. Oh, what's going on, man? How you doing, Sturdy? His new show premiered last night on the Scene Snobs channel at 11 p.m. It's horror night with the Scary Snobs. Sturdy and Jason Taylor are a great duo. I love watching them, and they're having a lot of fun, and they're taking care of business. So go check that out. It's up on our YouTube channel. Great morning to everybody from your black friend Sturdy. I love you, buddy. Mick, I'm free if you need help. Just don't make me read so it's too early. Hey, man, you're always more than welcome to come over and hang out with me and talk. So I will send you a link, and whenever you feel like joining in and you're ready, please feel free to do so. We're just going to talk some news and kind of get into it. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. But guys, so I was following this news story, and let me just send this over to him so he has it. So I'm following this news story, and this young girl was being bullied, and it's pretty savage what was happening to her. And it turns out that very sadly she committed suicide. She's a 14-year-old girl. She's getting picked on, and led to her suicide. Now, the parents and the students are clashing with the officials. And I know it's Friday morning. I'm trying to remain upbeat. This is kind of a tough story. And I want to start off with it because a lot happens. And this isn't so much about the bullying side of things. We can get into that. I could talk about that forever. It's disgusting. And as a father myself, and many of you who watch are fathers, mothers, and such, and I understand the fear of it, and your child going through this. But what I really wanted to focus on, what I really wanted to get into, is what's happening, like the school boards that never seem to step in time or put together plans to help stop this. Now, listen, there are a lot of school officials out there, teachers, principals, who I have so much high respect for, and they do the absolute best they can. This is more about the officials who govern it, who just seem to keep dropping the ball. And these teachers are never getting listened to, it seems, and they're never getting the respect they deserve or anything else that they really deserve to make their jobs work of teaching our children. And when I think about this, it boggles my mind, and it's a hard story you hear personally here. When I talk to friends who are teachers and stuff like that, there's nothing backing it up. And it's devastating. And seeing this story of this young girl, and unfortunately, what happened ultimately to her, and kind of what she, like how she was dealt with it and how the outcome and her feeling she had to take her life. What point, like, I would love to ask this question to you guys, and I'd love to hear your opinion. And I promise you guys, it's not going to be all like this. I have a lot of light stuff to talk about too, but I did want to start off kind of heavy today because this is something that's happening more and more. And when it comes to the school boards, and the little involvement that they seem to get into, and it's almost like they want to touch it with kid gloves. Like, why? Like, they don't want to come off as the bad guys, and it's not, sometimes to me it's not about being a bad guy. So you got to step in, you got to try and rectify a lot of stuff that's happening. And I think that's where my biggest tension is coming from when I read these stories and come out, is that these school boards are not getting the job done, but they're dropping the ball, not just with the safety of the children, and what they could be doing and how they could kind of implement, different plans or kind of think outside the box to do so. But for this, where do you go? What should they do? How does it keep clashing like this, where you have parents and you have students trying to go to these boards looking for some answers? So some answers in this situation where you have devastating outcomes. How do the boards get involved and end this? And the more I delve into these stories and things like that, and it just happens all over the place with everything. And I don't want to focus on the stories that are, like I don't want to focus on the bullying aspect. I can go on and on and on about bullying, and we all can. And I think we're all that bunch that was sort of the bullied. And so when it comes down to it, I want to get into the school side of it. And the reason I want to do that is because I wanted to open up with you guys today. I don't know the best way to maneuver in that situation, even as a father with two kids in school. And, so opening up about my son, my 6-year-old, recently he got in trouble twice at school. And I don't know how I feel about it. And this was sort of saying, I wanted to segue from like how the board was handling it, how the administration handles it. Because if the school board had their way, he's 6, he'd be gone. Of course, we're going to meet with the teachers, going to meet with the principal, and they were very hard, wonderful people, who understand and they get it. But with this no tolerance policies and stuff like that is really ultimately what comes into it. It's like you have these no tolerance policies that just make no sense to me. And it doesn't make sense to a lot of the faculty of schools that I talk to either. And coming into it, I don't understand how we're not doing more. And if you have a no tolerance policy, how do things like this, like Adriana in New Jersey, taking her own life because of all the bullying that had occurred and that were affecting her so deeply. Where was the no tolerance policy then? It always seems like these no tolerance policies show up at the wrong times but they never are there when you need them. Like it boggles my mind, and I blame the boards for that. So to start off and talk about my son a little bit, 6 years old, he's a good kid. He's a very caring, loving kid. And I've always appreciated about him, but he's adventurous. He loves just being around people, and he's very energetic, and he loves to tell jokes and things like that. And so he was at school and they were playing cops and robbers, which I think you know where this is going, because it just boggles my mind. Like so he was chasing the kids around. He was playing one of the cops, and he was using a finger gun, and got written up for it. The teacher just pulled him aside to talk to him. His teacher, who was wonderful. Of course, I'm not naming any names or anything on here, but his teacher was wonderful. Talked to him. Told him. Now, my son is also very stubborn. He takes after his old man. He got me through some difficult times in life, so hopefully we'll help him as well. But he's also very stubborn. So when they wrote him up, he was like, I don't want to get in trouble. And he crumbled it up and threw it away. But they found it, and he copped to it. He came right out and he told me. My point being is, this got him in trouble. And now I understand the fear, because like when it was brought to our attention, my wife and I were talking, it was devastating. You're like, oh, I don't want to glorify guns. Now, little backstory. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but this is, important to it. I've got nothing against guns. I grew up with guns in my home. Responsible gun owners, I got no issues with. It's just not always responsible. And I think we need to be more realistic about that in the country. There's a lot of people who pretend I'm a responsible gun owner, but it's not always the case. So, I have no problem. My thing is, I know what they can do. I mean, I grew up in an area that had a lot of them going off a lot. So I know what they can do. I've seen them in action. And I've never wanted that. I had brothers who went into the military. I had a very military family. They all became cops. Just wasn't for me. I became a firefighter, and then I just went on from there. I was like, I don't want to be in the military. It's not that I look down on. It's not that I have any issue with. It's just, I don't want to have that. I don't want to make that choice of taking somebody's life. Because it's hard. Not hard in the sense like, oh, it's hard to make that choice. It's hard to live with that decision. And we see that every day, and we see the effect that has on people. And I never wanted that. I don't want to take a human life. So when it comes to this and the guns and stuff, like, we don't glorify guns in the house. We don't. I teach the kids, you need to be respectful. And I'm never going to take them away. And if they wanted to learn how to shoot, I got no problem with that, because gun safety and just doing things in a safe way. It's practical and it makes sense. So I have no problem introducing that element. So there is no glorification. There's no gun rack hanging over the wall, which, again, if somebody has that in their home, that's the way they do things. That's fine, as long as they practice it safely. When it comes to kids, I think you should always have them locked away. It just is what it is. That's my very strong feeling on that. But it's not like we're watching. He's 6. I'm not sitting there watching action movies, but he also does watch things like Star Wars, which has blasters in it. He does have, we watch Indiana Jones. He carries a gun. So there is an element for him where he sees these things, and they do. Also, I think there's a, and not to take away from any other gender, boys have that element when they're kids of like playing war and like taking the Nerf guns out and battling and things like that. So I think, is there an innate sense? And I know I have a lot of guys watching, and I'd love to hear you guys think, even in that element of whether you have kids or not, is there just like for boys, like an innate sense growing up that you kind of get into that? You get into a feeling. I'm not saying everybody, there's always differences and stuff, but I remember playing that when I was a kid, and it kind of felt like an adventurous portion. I remember my oldest doing the same thing, and now he doesn't do that anymore. So to continue on in the story, he got in trouble for doing that with the cops and robbers. We talked to him. We told him, you can't do that. It makes people nervous. You can't pretend to be shooting people, especially at a school. We know you're doing cops and robbers, but it can't happen. We had a really deep conversation, and we told him. Fast forward like 5 days later, he does it again. They're playing again. He makes the sign, gets written up, comes back to us. He's all over the place. When we sat down again, we had these talks with him. We're like, listen, this is what it is. But here's where I'm torn. What do I do? What do I say? I can see in his face he's not trying to be malicious or even in his mind kill anyone. To him, I can see when I'm talking to him, like, it was part of the game. And I just thought about it was one of the cops. And, he's like, I should just tag them. And even he's rationalizing it because he got in trouble. He's, I should have just tagged them. And we talked to him about that. And we said, well, if you're going to play those games, you should just do tag. But, and I also told him my feelings on guns and such, and that I don't have anything against them. I just personally don't choose not to use them. And for him, he's also 6 and we're having this conversation and it kind of really pulls me apart because again, he's 6, but then you think about it and there was the 6-year-old who shot a teacher. And I don't know what the situation was there. I don't know what that 6-year-old's motivation was. I'm not justifying the outcome. I'm not justifying what he did. I'm just saying I don't know. It's like commenting on that's tough, but he was 6. It wasn't a school. Again, the school board and the officials could have, from my understanding of things I've read about them, I kind of read up on it because it's happened in my home state. It probably could have been prevented, but nothing was done. But what do I say to my son? What do we say to kids that it's not, who just aren't getting it? Like, I think he understands that he's getting in trouble. I think he understands that it's frowned upon, but I also, where's the heat of like, you're playing, and you get into it and you make a sign. What is it? It's a write-up and then it comes home to the parents and we'll take care of it. That's fine. But when do we start having these conversations in schools? When do we start opening up about that? They do drills now for active shooter drills and the kids are aware of it, but they're not correlating the two. They're not correlating like what I see in the movies and what I'm playing on the playground and stuff like that. They don't think that this is like this. They just get in their position that they're told to get in. When do we start having these conversations? How does that come in? Should it be implemented by the school board, who really seems like it's doing nothing across the board on many, many, many fronts, like the bullying of this young girl in New Jersey, or the endless, it seems, active shooters that are attacking schools disgustingly, nothing. And now you can blame officials all the way up, and I do. I truly do. But that's a whole other issue. Now I want to talk about the school boards. Where do we go from here? What do we implement? How do we do it? Extra security, things like that. We can't even pay teachers what they're worth. And how do the teachers handle this? How does the psychological factor of how the teachers have to handle this? Do they have to talk to the kids? Can you bring in special instructors to talk to the kids? How do you talk to the parents about it? We've never, in all the years, and my oldest is going on 11, in all those years, never had any meetings at the school about it. Safety and precautions, things like that. How to talk to your kids. It's never come up as a panel to maybe hear from parents who have different varying opinions on things. Where do we start? Are we starting? How is this happening? That's kind of where I'm at with this. And, with my son, like, I was talking to a few different people because I wanted different opinions. And I'm, of course, talking to you guys too. And I will get to your comments. I promise you. And I do want to get to that in just a sec. I was just kind of went off on my tangent here, but I want to hear what everybody has to say. But how do we handle this? And Sturdy, I see you, and I'm going to send it to you in just a sec. And when I say this stuff, I'm not saying it in the sense of like, guys, give me an answer right now. I need an answer. And I'm not going to have an answer either. But where does it start? Where does it start? It's funny. My brother, he has a child, a daughter, that's a year older than my son. Actually, they have the exact same birthday. So, but she's a year older, and he was telling me about this thing where, for like a week, he's like on this on-call, like parent or something. They call it like this. It's sort of like a task force, like a parent task force, where for the week you're on call to come in, but you have to spend a day there, and basically the parent will walk around, check the doors during the day, and kind of keep vigilant, and sit with the kids. You can sit with your kids in their room and stuff like that, and like help them throughout the day and stuff like that. And it's just to get parents involved. And I love that. When I heard it, I was like, oh, I want to talk to, and that is coming up. That is a conversation that's going to be had, that I want to talk to my son's principal with and stuff. And I understand that that is not an easy thing to implement, because there are many different adults, and unless you have background checks, you can't just ask anyone to show up and just be part of it. You open that up to a lot. It's got to be trusted members and things like that. So I understand there's a lot that goes around to it, but it just seemed like such a really good idea to kind of help. But like, again, nothing like that really pops up in schools. Like, I don't hear about that a lot. Let me come back. Let me talk to everybody. Okay, John Wass, what's up, buddy? There was a lot of Star Wars, G.I. Joes, Transformers, etc. when I was a kid. Every character had a gun or some sort of weapon. My dad has rifles for hunting. Weapons were part of the culture. Absolutely. Yeah, same. They were all there, and Sturdy, I'll send it to you in just a sec. I'm not holding out on you, and I do want to hear what you have to say, but let me just get through the comments, and then we'll go. But in the current social climate, I can see how the idea of guns being inappropriate in children's entertainment is a reasonable change to make. I like what you said there, and I think if you are going to watch something as parents, like, it's on us on what we show our kids. So, I watch a lot of Star Trek. I watch a lot of Star Wars, Doctor Who, things like that. Doctor Who has been pretty effective with the sort of anti-gun message. Not anti-gun. I shouldn't say that, because the guns show up, and it's not about that. It's the Doctor's philosophy is much like what I was saying earlier about my own philosophy. I know what they can do, therefore I don't carry one. Because I don't want to make that choice. I don't want to make that decision to end a life. But if he's with somebody who carries one, some sort of official, things like that, he will share his opinion in a moment, but it's not like he's telling them, you can never have this, get away. It's on us what we show to our kids and what they see. Right. And if I show my kid Indiana Jones, but I feel like that conversation needs to be had right after, and it was. And I don't think running out onto a schoolyard doing this is a no tolerance issue. That's my personal feeling on it. Like, I don't know, how do you tell a kid, like, if they have this? Like, I see what you're saying, John, and that the pop culture side of it definitely has an effect on like how we show, like what's around for kids. Like, all of those shows you mentioned were for kids. They're for children, especially boys at the time in the 80s. Like, that was what it was geared toward, to sell those toys. So watching those shows, getting those toys with all those guns. I mean, remember Megatron was a gun. And then some parent complained, and they turned him into, I think it was a tank. I can't remember, or a jet. I can't remember which one it was, but he was like, it was a pistol that he turned into, and they had to change it. So, and I get it. And even then, like, it was something that was implemented. I mean, a lot of people complained about that, but it was implemented. A parent had a problem with it, and they went with it. And that's what I'm saying here. Like, officials listened and did what they had to do. Why aren't we doing that anymore, it seems? Dale, I feel for you, dude. It's very hard for a 6-year-old to practice self-control and to curb behavior just because they're told not to, especially on the playground during fun time. He'll get it. And he will. And that's the thing. He picked up on it, like, because we'll sit and we'll talk to him. You know, we told them, we're like, listen, you're getting thing sheets. You know, you're not, especially the second time. It's like, you repeated this. Now, I understand maybe in the heat of the being on the playground, you're doing it, but this is where we have to start making those active decisions to not do the thing that we know we'll get in trouble for, and that self-control that comes with it. And that's another whole other topic for a 6-year-old we're talking about. And reasonably, how do you hold them to it at this age? Like, you got to screw up a few times when you're this young. You know what I mean? And that's how you're going to learn your lesson. Try to do it all the time. I'm coming for you, Sturt. I got so many people sending me messages lately. You got lost in the shuffle. I got to find your thing. Here you go. I'm going to send it over to you, buddy. Love to have you. You know that, bud. All right. So I know I'm kind of talking, but I love to hear what you guys have to say on this, and how you feel about the school boards and what they're doing in your own hometowns. I'm just not impressed here, and with a lot of school boards that I see. Firearms are a part of American culture. The country wasn't founded until after the invention of the firearm, and was established and maintained by firearms. Even historical heroes who used firearms. Again, I'm not against firearms. I choose not to use them. I grew up with them. I was trained on them. I know, I'm a pretty good shot. But I'd just rather not use them. I know what they can do, and I've seen what they can do, and it's just not for me. But I don't take it away from other people who are responsible. There's a lot of people who are not responsible. I have horror stories of people who are not responsible gun owners, and it's disgusting. Dale, maybe twice was enough. Hopefully, we'll see. But even then, like, when you're 6 and it's just this, and you're running around and you're playing, what is with the no tolerance? Like, and also, you can also make the argument of like, well, if there's no tolerance, then how do you get it twice? That's what I mean. It's such a, and I don't want to say that about my son, but of course, but it's just one of those things where are we really doing no tolerance? And if we're not, then how are we not doing it a case by case? And how are we not figuring this out and working on it and doing the best we can? I don't think no tolerance works or zero tolerance. None of that crap works. But where do we go? How do we fix it? And that's the answers we need. But now the guy with a gun could be out to unalive everyone in the building. It's true. It's very true. All right. Oh, Sturdy's here. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? Good morning, everybody out there, from your Black friend Sturdy. You're hearing it from me. I'm the one who types this, and I love when Mick and Casey say it, and anyone else, because it's fun, it's funny, it's happy. But on to your conversation, Mick. I was thinking about this, and I'm like, I remember when I was a kid, I had this yellow toy gun. I don't know, I can't remember if my father got it for me. I just know I got it for a present from somebody, a gift from somebody. Popping around, playing it around. And I remember I pointed at my older brother, and he was stern with me. He grabbed it and put it down. He's like, don't ever point a gun at anybody. Even if it's a toy, don't ever point a gun at anybody. And from then on, I mean, of course, water gun fights and all that, but that's a little different. But that was like, from like then on, it was just like, you never know. And then you hear of that growing up, even probably in our adult lives, I've heard of it, like young African-American boys playing with toy guns and getting shot by the police, which is just terrible. But because of aiming them, but it's the toy guns, and I believe that's the reason why they put the ones that are all black with the orange tip. I believe that's why they put the orange tip on them, so for stuff like that. But it's tough because, like you were saying, like as a young boy, it's just Ninja Turtles, Transformers, G.I. Joe, like all the cartoons that we grew up, and girls. There's girls too. I'm not even gonna say just boys, but all the cartoons that we grow up, you see these guns, you see all this stuff, and it's just you're not even thinking about it as unaliving somebody as a kid. You're just thinking about it's just boom, oh, it's cool, it's a gunfight, it's laser guns, boom, boom. That's all you're thinking about. Cops and rob, whatever you play, and you don't understand the reality or the seriousness of a real gun. And then, like, speaking on your son with the whole school thing, I don't even, like you were saying, I don't even think that was him being malicious. That's just kids being kids. Honestly, that's literally kids being kids and playing. Because I'm sure there's times we've all done, just not with a toy gun, let's say, or even the finger gun. I'm sure you've yelled at your son a few times for running around the house. Probably multiple times in the same day. And it's not him being disrespectful. It's not them like, I don't care what my dad. It's just they're playing, they're having fun. You don't think. Even as adults, we do. Maybe not. We do things. I mean, as grown married men, we know our wives in certain ways where we're having fun and they're just over it in like 2 minutes. But we're not doing it to be like mean. It's just fun, and so it's hard because it's in so much stuff. I'm not even gonna say the whole American culture thing is how America was founded or stolen, however you want to look at it. But as far as just like you're saying, the Star Wars, all the shows and everything we watch, and it's hard. But there does need to be there needs to be something done about the gun thing. I agree with you with this whole zero tolerance thing, if anything. But the finger, educate, teach the kids, sit them down, explain to them why it's not appropriate in school. Help them understand. You don't have to even tell them about the mass shootings. Maybe not that much. I don't know if your son knows about them, but I feel like that's something they should kind of learn about at home.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Maybe when they're a little bit older in school, but just teach them like why it's not cool, why it's not safe, and all this stuff or whatever to play. And with the cops and robbers, just do like you were saying, try to make it tag. Maybe I don't know if it's easier, but maybe if and I'm not blaming the parents, but maybe if parents, older siblings, cousins, whoever, aunts, uncles, like those type of games, if you're figuring out a way to play, like say cops and robbers, make it like a tag game and just make that like a thing.
Yeah.
Make that like a thing for people. Or something, I don't know, just something to where the kids can still kind of have that fun and still have the same game, but they're just playing it in a kind of a different way. But if we teach them that, from home and on out and just kind of push it out and make it a fun way without doing this, but doing some other type of, even if you don't do a hand gesture, just tag. Maybe you tag with 2 hands, you're arrested or whatever. I got to grab your wrist, just something to where they can do it where it's not too rough for school, just because, school, they shouldn't be rough there anyway. And I really don't know. Like, I don't know the answers to that. And as far as the school board goes, they just need to show more. They need to actually show that they care about the kids and stop caring about their vote. Care about the kids. That's the problem with politics in general, is they don't care about the people. They just care about getting the seat, and that's it.
Yeah,
getting their faces seen, and that's it. Instead of let's help these people out, or let's help these kids out. Let's help this like the best thing they can do is figure out a way to make it safer for the children, and the education way better for the children. That's it.
And I love what you're saying, and I completely agree with you. And that's sort of where the track was when I was talking about the young girl in New Jersey who was bullied and then led to suicide. And it's like, where is the zero tolerance policy there? Why weren't, there's no way somebody hasn't heard. The bullying comes up. If teachers aren't saying anything, it's because they're turning a blind eye. It's a fact. It really, we were both in this position, I'm sure, where bullying happened, right?
Oh, as far as bullying goes, for me, I was always standing up for people, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Like there's people, I'm like, yo, if you're going to fight, you go through me first and then you can fight him. Oh, I don't have a problem with you. And it's not necessarily like me. It's not to fight, not to be tough. It's just like, I'm not going to if I'm around, I'm not going to let you just push somebody around because you're bigger than them and you can do that. Yeah. I don't care how big you are. And sometimes just standing up to people like that stops it. But at the same time, that's not always going to work for everybody. And not everybody's, I don't even want to say brave enough, because it's not necessarily being a brave thing. Maybe they just weren't raised like that. Because a lot of people, it's like, hey, if you see something, walk away. I was raised, if you can help somebody, help. But also, if you can talk out of a situation, do that, which you don't really learn that much, especially as a guy with the ego. And the ego is horrible in your male teen years. It's terrible. And it's all about what everyone else thinks. And that's another thing you got to kind of, I know it's easier said than done. This is for girls and boys, I'm sure, but I can just speak from being a young boy's perspective of that whole, go do this. Oh, they're talking about you. It's like, just let it go. Just let it go. And that'll stop a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. But that right there, if you can learn to like, just literally walk away, that will stop. And then at times, I think a punch in the face will save someone's life. I'm not even making this up, because there's some people who they push the people around too much to the point to where they're going to push the wrong person. That's what sometimes makes someone bring that gun to that situation that could have been escalated. And going to what you're saying about how, like, say if a kid's talking about, hey, this kid's messing with me. Hey, this kid's messing with me. Hey, this kid's messing with me. And it's like, okay, day 7, hey, this kid's, what am I supposed to do? I was told at home I can't hit anybody because if I punch somebody, I'm going to get in trouble to defend myself. I tell them and they say the same thing at school, but yet there's somebody pushing you in the hall, but nobody sees it, or doing this, that, and the third, and nobody sees it. Nobody says anything. You go to the teacher. So it's like, I mean, again, and I'm sure a lot of us were also raised because we were around the same era of don't start nothing, but do not let anybody bully you. Do not let anybody put their hands on you. Defend yourself. That's how I was raised, and that's how I handled things. I would tell somebody if I had to, but 9 times out of 10, nobody's around. And that's another thing there. It's just, it's, I feel bad for kids now, man. It just seems like, and I don't even want to talk about how we used to all crack jokes and all this other stuff and all that. Cause yeah, we all did that. And you can say kids can be tougher, but at the same time, it's like the cool thing is these younger children, male and female, are showing their emotion a lot more. I just wish that they wouldn't end their lives with some of the stuff. I wish that they can kind of cope with some of the stuff, or just kind of know that this right here, what you're dealing with in school, yes, the picking on and all that stuff, do what you can do. Tell somebody, get help, big brother, big sister. And sometimes you really just got to ball your fist up. I don't care how big they are, and punch them in the face, because a lot of times bullies are they're pushing around people they know they can push around. They're pushing around people they know that won't fight back. That's the thing. Win, lose, or draw, they're pushing the people around that won't fight back. Because if you punch them in the face and they know you're gonna punch them in the face, win, lose, or draw, every single time they mess with you, they're gonna stop. Versus if you're just standing there, here's my money. Here, take their
because
you have some, like I said, sometimes, and parents, I'm sorry but sometimes your kids have to ball up their fist and punch somebody in the face, because it could be, again, it could be the thing that saves that person's life they hit, but two, more importantly, well, no, that, and then maybe your child will not be getting bullied anymore, because a lot of times the talking doesn't help. And even when the parents go to the schools, it's just, I really don't get it. I really don't get it.
Well, you see, my thing is, I do agree with you. And like when we were younger, standing up to bullies was how you had to do things, because you were almost alone in every situation. And it wasn't that parents weren't, interested in being involved. So I'm sure some somewhere, but the vast majority, I wouldn't say, weren't interested in being involved, but that's how you had to handle it. It's like, we can't be there day to day with you. You got to be able to stand up for yourself. And I get that. I think, again, it comes back to zero tolerance, which has been around for far too long. I think it started after I got out of school, but they went hard on it. And the thing is, at what point do we stop pushing kids to have to defend themselves and say, like, you got to defend yourself at home, versus let's stop the bullying? And the reason I say that is, it comes down to a lot of kids are either snapping and attacking, and that you see that more and more, or they're killing themselves, which is just so sad and breaks my heart, because people who do come back, like, and I'm saying stand up for themselves. Now, I'm not talking about snapping and bringing a gun to school. I'm talking about the kids who maybe fight back or raise a hand to these other kids who are bullying them for what seems like a relentless time, amount of time, like all year, until a point where they turn around and then they do ball up their fist and hit. And then that's the kid who gets in trouble. And we see that far more than we see bullies getting in trouble.
That's a big problem right there. That's a big. I feel if you guys are if you really have a zero tolerance, and let's just use me and you as an example, and say you're bullying me in school, right? And I come to the principal, Casey. I'm like, hey, he's bullying me, and then it's just like nothing really happens. Like, okay, I gotta try to fight this guy after a while, because. And then I get in trouble. Say I get in trouble for hitting you, and now the principal finally sees, Aaron, what do you do? It's like, I've been telling you for months what was going on, and now you decide to do something when I retaliate. Right there is where they need to retaliate. And if it's something that right there is where they need to retaliate. Right in the beginning, like, okay, let's investigate this. Let's see what the hell's going on, and let's see why this is going on. Not, okay, let's just, let me bring Mick in the office. Mick, stop. No, call it. Which parent is he more afraid of? Call that parent and bring him down here, straighten him out. Because it's sad. It's sad, and it's scary to where, in a sense, it's like, going to school, you feel like your kid should be safe in school. just from weapons in general, but shouldn't be bothered. Should be just go there, get your education, come home. I understand scuffles are going to happen, but we don't even. But now it's getting like for us, it was scuffles, fights are going to happen, but now it's worse. It's like you can have the fights, or you can have someone bring in a gun, or you can have a child take their own life, and that isn't right. And there needs to be something. And I'm like I'm not a gun owner. Would I own one? Maybe down the road. I'm not against them, but there needs to be something. There needs to be something. They shouldn't be that easy. I'm not going to say they shouldn't be easy to obtain for, say you and I, so to speak. But at the same time, there should be something. There should be something because there's no way in hell that all these kids are grabbing these guns and bringing them to school, and how their parents don't know. Like I know gun owners that they leave their guns in a safe. Like I'm going to the gun range. I'm going to take it out. Yes, they have children. The ones I do, they have children. The children know about them. They learn about them, but they don't touch them. They don't have access to that safe, and they're always in the safe. And maybe that should be a thing. If you have guns and all that, maybe you should have to have a gun safe if you have kids in your house, and they have to be locked in the safe. But then again, I'm like, I can see people arguing, oh, it's my house, my rules. What if an intruder comes in? It's like, well, what if an intruder doesn't come in? What if your kid gets a hold of this gun that you have in your drawer because you're afraid an intruder is going to come in, and then your kid not even. Because I'm sure there's kids that bring guns to school not even thinking of harming anybody. It's just like, okay, cool, this is a cool gun. Maybe back in the day more so than now. I don't know.
I mean, I would leave that because we don't, and I'm sure it has happened. And probably more than most people would want to believe. But I got to be honest, like I don't know what's going on through the heads of these shooters, especially in schools, and thankfully I don't know. But we do need to learn. We need professionals to figure it out.
Yeah.
Which we're not doing because it is a mental health issue just as much as anything else. And I think my biggest issue here with it is, again, I don't have a problem with responsible gun owners. I know lots of people own farms, lots of people who live on the mountains, and it makes sense, especially in places like that where you hunt and I'm not even disregarding home protection, but think about living in the mountains where you got bears and stuff like that.
It's true.
It is home protection. You do need it.
Yeah.
And most of the kids that I've seen that grow up on these areas, where using maybe a rifle or a gun or a handgun or something is an important factor to what you're doing.
It's more of a tool. Like, for example, my father he's gonna be 80 this year, damn. But he grew up in North Carolina, and like that, he said he had a gun since he was a kid, like because they went hunting with my grandfather and all this other stuff. But they learned about it then. They didn't play with them, and they were allowed to take them out and like say my father and my uncle wanted to go hunting, like say for rabbit or whatever they did. Those who can go, but they knew. You know what I mean? They just knew it. I mean, and it's the country, like you're saying, with the whole farm thing, basically same thing. Well, they were on a farm as well, so it's like. It was kind of like just the family thing to do, like the chores. It was like a chore almost, as far as, you go hunting, get the food, all that, help out with that. So it wasn't like they're going out playing. I'm not saying they didn't do target practice and all that, but they weren't aiming at each other and all that. They knew the rules. They knew where they can do with them and all this other stuff. But they were I'm not saying they had them in hand since babies, but they've been around them since babies growing up. And
I mean, it's part of that culture that comes into it. And that's where we don't. I feel like that's the responsible side of it. Now, again, there are plenty of people. I've worked in bars since I'm 20, and there are people who just carry guns into bars, drink, and then it boggles my mind. It's just like you're insane. There are people who are not responsible.
Speaking on that really quick, really quick. What's funny? I don't know if it's every state, but I know in New York State, if you have a marijuana card, you can't own a gun, but you can drink and have a gun.
Yeah, I know. It boggles my mind.
You'll make worse decisions getting drunk, having a gun, versus if you get high and have a gun, that shit's still going to be. You're probably going to forget sorry for swearing. You're probably going to forget the safe number to even open it to do anything stupid. You're not even going to be thinking about it. Versus if you're drunk and mad, you may. It makes.
But and that's a great. That is a great topic to bring up, because coming into it, think about it this way. If you want to drive a car, what is the process? You got to take a pre-test to get a learner's permit.
Yep.
You then have to take another test when it's time to get your license. And in most states, you get that license if you pass both a written and driver's test.
Mm-hmm.
After you do that, Then it's a provisional license for until a certain age.
Yep.
You know, and then if you get drunk, there are huge ramifications of driving after you get drunk. Why do we not have why do we have all of these processes for cars,
but not for guns?
But not for like you should take you should take a safety course. You should take like these are things that should be mandatory before you can purchase. And honestly, I don't see. And if you've done it and you own one and you can, then yeah, you shouldn't have to take one every time you want to buy a gun. Like it's just like if you want to go buy a new car, you don't have to take the road test again.
No, you don't. You really don't. But I agree with what you're saying with that. I agree with what you're saying with that though, because I think it'd make you be a little more responsible. Maybe I don't know because I've never even tried to get a gun, so I don't know the whole legal. I don't know what you have to go through. I know they have to do like classes and stuff, but I don't know what else.
Well, you don't have to, and they're here in Virginia alone. You can, and unless they've changed the law since then, but I doubt it. You could trade people. I could trade you, I don't know, rims for a gun.
Oh, wow.
And there never has to be any alert to the police. There never has to be anything. It just changes hands, and it is what it is.
But you're down south, though, too, don't forget. Versus me, I'm probably in one of the strictest states in New York State as far as gun laws go. Doesn't seem like it's helping, but...
No.
It's... And really quick, as far as like when people, as far as the argument with stricter gun laws, as far as the criminals will always get them, as far as these mass shootings in the schools, it's not the criminals that are doing it. It's the children of the legal gun owners that are doing it. So that's why that's the thing right there. Like I understand the whole stricter gun laws. Okay, you have to have a clean record, all that, blah 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 blah. Cool. But then when you're the one who has that clean record and someone's child brings that gun to school that has that clean record, and that's why I was saying the whole thing about having a safe and having your gun always locked in the safe. Your child, I'm not saying they shouldn't know that there's a gun in the house. They should know, and they should also be able to learn about them and the safety and the seriousness of it. But they should never be able to go and get that gun on their own ever. They shouldn't even know where it is, but I still say have it locked in a safe. And I mean a safe, not the you can have the gun box. I just say a safe because they're not going to carry that out the house. There's no way in hell. Versus like a gun box, if they got their hands on it. I'm not saying they could get it open. I doubt it, but where there's a will, there's a way.
And I think in situations like that, where if it's not properly locked up, if you're a gun owner and you have been for years, and then it's not properly locked up, or you're not regularly checking it, so that way your kids can't get in there and just take it.
Exactly.
You know, you need to know that your kids are going in there, because again, there are kids who are going to go hunting, especially when they're teenagers, things like that.
Yeah.
But you can set it up so you know when it's touched or where it's going. So it can't just be you implement a plan, you come up with it. It's logical in a lot of ways, I would say, but it would be good. It'd be good practice for gun owners to start doing, especially when you have kids. It's coming down to where along the lines are we really? Where are we? Well, I mean, all right, I gotta walk that back because that's way too big, and we're failing on so many levels, in so many areas. So I don't want to say, I want to bring it back down to the baser. Like, I was talking about the school boards and things like that, and like, where is the active involvement? You're running drills for kids, for active shooters. My kid is getting sheets home, and I have to have a meeting, and I want to have a meeting and talk to the principal and talk to the teachers about it. But at the same time, when I'm sitting at that meeting and I'm like, I can't imagine how unbelievably scared you are every day. Well, actually I can imagine, because
you're a parent.
Not just that, but walking where I did in school, in the city I lived in, it was a very real threat all the time. But like, you lose that as you get older. I can rationalize things better. Kids, it's a little, of course it's different. But like, teachers now are living with that. So I find like going there, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to have this discussion with them. If and you're telling me, that he's a good kid and that he's not the type of kid who's going to grab a gun and bring it in, they're saying this to me. then can't we, like, why are we doing think sheets? Why are we doing this? This should be the teachable moment. And I'm not saying about the philosophy of guns, things like that. We'll do that at home.
Yeah.
Let's work together on this.
Yes.
Work together.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're doing with this meeting. But my thing is, you're teaching kids, this is where the school board portion comes in. You're teaching kids active shooter drills. Hide in this way, act this way, go here, do this if there's ever a shooter. Why do we not have assemblies where you have people come in? You know, I remember people coming in and talking to us about exercise in school.
And dare.
Where's the assemblies for like the very real possibility of the threat that's happening now? Why are we not doing that?
Honestly, that's a great idea. Something like a dare thing. Remember how dare they'd come in, they'd show you the videos, they bring in the goggles so you can see. So instead of maybe show videos, but not to that extent, it would be like, say if it's like made for TV stories where they show, you know, something happening, a kid brings a gun to school, but they don't show him actually shooting. They don't show blood, but they show him angry, upset, whatever. And they say they do two things though. They show one way where, say, if the kid's getting bullied, how he handles it by going to get a gun, how you ask for all this help, handles it going to get a gun, and then how he handles it the right way and the wrong way, getting a gun and then asking for help, whatever the case may be, but showing the consequences of it, having assemblies about that, but teaching them, having them understand why it's not good, why it's not cool, why it's not like why it's not a toy. But that's what I mean by cool. Like, it's not a toy, it's not a fun thing. Like, this is a serious thing. This is for hunting or taking a life, defending yourself. This isn't for show and tell. This isn't for playing. And I know we have water guns and all that stuff and paintball guns, which again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You just got to teach them, like, look, if you want to play, look, it's cool to play with this, but don't ever point. I know you want to play with your friends. If you guys are playing, cool. Other than that, don't ever point this at anybody.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to, too, since we live in this world where guns are way more prevalent and they are showing up in schools more and more, all the way up to the collegiate level. Of course, the three victims from Michigan State, and hearts go out to them and their families. But at what point, even in college, we should be implementing this. Like, have these assemblies, have these talks, have somebody come in, bring real guns, open them up, even to the youngest kids, and say, this isn't about being cool. This isn't about carrying something and being tough. This is something that it's a tool used for this or this, and when it's not used for those purposes, it's a weapon of destruction.
Exactly.
And teach these kids. Not saying hold the gun, but take it apart. Take it apart. Show the inner workings. Do gun safety with them. Say these things, because I know, like, when my kids go to school, and I'm sure a lot of other parents can attest to this, and there's a special assembly on something. My kid comes home and tells me all about it, and then starts incorporating it around the house,
which is awesome.
Yeah, if we did that with guns, don't you think they might say, if you have guns, you have to keep them locked up, you have to do this, we can't just take them, they're violent, they can kill people. Show a movie scene where the hero or even a villain is using a gun and killing people, and then show the real effects of real life. You don't have to show these kids maybe people getting shot in real life, but it is very effective to say, you see this movie scene? You know why this doesn't affect you when people get shot? It's because of its faceless victims.
Yeah.
And that's why they do it in movies. They say, this is the bad guy, so you rationalize that's the bad guy. But let me show you what happens when victims really get killed. And then just show the parents' reactions. Show that.
That was my next thing I was going to say is, you know how here and there they'll have these assemblies, or like where athletes or whoever, or even like if somebody famous gets in trouble, then they'll start speaking at schools. If for the parents that are, or the families that had to deal with that tragedy, I'm actually on both ends, the kid that brought the gun in and the kid that lost their life. If parents that were comfortable and then lived in certain communities would go to these schools and listen, my child, boom, or I lost my child, boom, and kind of, because then it makes it more real. It makes it a lot more real than just seeing it on the news or hearing it from your parents. If you have these assemblies like we're discussing, and then they're hearing it from the people that this actually happened to on both ends, it's just like, wow. Like but like you said, like start it young and just have it go all the way up through school. There's some classes in school I feel like you can just get rid of. Another class I would love to add is a cultural class. And the reason why I say that is because they'll give us a better understanding of each other. We'll respect each other more and all that other fun stuff. And I look at it like you can even make it fun. Like say you have a cultural thing to where it could be a weekly thing, a monthly thing, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn about certain things, like the important positive things about that culture, not about all the other nonsense you learn in history with school. You learn about the positive things, and then you have a speaker come in for that. And food. People love food. Food brings everybody together.
Yeah.
And I feel like that right there will kind of connect people more, make people more comfortable around each other. But start it with kids. Start this stuff with kids. Because there's even in your adult age, you're still seeing people as far as, and I don't mean like, cracking jokes with friends. I mean like seriously like harmful things they're saying to people about other cultures because it's different. But like if you learn about these cultures, even if you were never around them as your kids, you're not around them till you're an adult, but you learn about these cultures from pre-K all the way up through high school, and then if you want to take more courses in college, but you learn through these cultures, you learn the food, the language, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're learning bits and pieces of language, like simple things, and if you want to take a certain class, cool. But I think that right there would help, which in turn, how it connects with the gun violence is it'll connect people with just because some people get picked on just because they're different. But now you're understanding the difference. You're understanding this person's culture. You're understanding this person's religion. If you care or believe in the religion or not, you're understanding it. You have a respect for it. And it just it helps us all become together more. And I know it's easier said than done, but why isn't something like that being done?
Yeah.
I understand people say we teach history because history, so history repeats itself. Get rid of history class because the same crap keeps happening, and all it does is just brings back stuff of all this, that, and the third. Let's just bring in a cultural class and just teach about cultures.
Love that.
Teach people how to treat people, because people say treat people how you want to be treated, but there's some people that I'll use myself as an example. I can joke around with damn near anybody with certain jokes that may bother or hurt someone else's feelings. Versus if you're a kid and you're like, okay, so this is how you should treat people, no matter who they are, no matter what they look like, boy, girl, everybody should be treated the same. Everybody should be treated fair. Everybody should be treated equal. But then you're implementing that in schools to where we all see it all the time. It's not just at home when you can, when your parents have time. Parents have a lot on their plate. You got to go to work. You got to take care of the household. You got to take care of your kids. You got to cook, clean, and all that stuff, and teach your children. I'm not saying that that's not their job because we know it is, but at the same time, it's like this should be more of a team thing than sending your kids. Also, teachers need to be paid a hell of a lot more. Just think about that.
I agree with you there.
And here's the funny thing. Think about how annoyed you all love your children, stepchildren. You love them to death. But think about how annoyed you get with them at certain times. Now imagine deal with 30.
But that's another thing. I mean, there is this. We have this school culture here, and it's not just here, everywhere. It's similar. Imagine going to work every day, and you were in a room with 30 people. You're not in cubicles, not in offices. You're in a room at a desk with 30 people, and it's generally boring and mundane. You're just doing your work all day. You got your boss talking to you. There's going to be tension because there's some clash somewhere. There's some annoying thing that happens. Not every day are you going to be in the mood to be around 30 people. And we as adults can rationalize. We as adults can say, this is my job. This is what I choose to do. I got to be around these 30 people, and I got to act civilized and do my thing. We can't expect that from children because it's not going to, it doesn't sustain for adults. We need cubicles. We need to be able to separate ourselves sometimes. We need offices, things like that, just to be like, I cannot deal with this person's the way they chew or this, that.
Even then though, man, there's days, like I'll speak for myself. There's days where I'm so happy I have my headphones on at work and I don't turn them up loud so I can hear my surroundings in case the supervisor comes up or whatever. Yeah. But it's like there's days I want to turn up because people just won't shut up. I don't want to hear their conversation. I don't care. So I like, even with the cubicles, I get it 110%, but I also know I can't just like, yo, shut up.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
not the right thing to do. It's rude, but you're right. Like you're these kids are in class all day, and these teachers are in class with these children all day.
Yep. For
however many hours, and it's just a rotation of that all day. And I mean, yeah, you could say make classes smaller, but that's easier stuff because then you need to make more schools and all that stuff. That's easier said than done. But why not? Here's the main thing, people. More of the money that this country takes from us for taxes and all that crap. We all know they just take it, pocket it. Put that towards education. Again, put that towards the stuff we're talking about. Because it'll take a while to. It may be 50. Like if they implemented this, let's say within 2 years, it may take 50 years for it to make a huge change. But it's gonna make some steps, and it's gonna make some changes slowly here and there. It's gonna make a hell of a lot more changes than what they're doing now, which is nothing.
Yeah. It's utterly ridiculous how we expect to handle things in this country and expect them just to go off without a hitch. Like, again, how do you have 30 screaming 6-year-olds all day with different tempers, different backgrounds, different things, and 1 or 2 teachers? I mean, mostly it's just one teacher and a teacher's aide most times, to just make sure that they can handle the full day of having to work and do things, then go home and do the same work because you gave it to them. I got a whole thing about homework, but I can go on for days. But and then have a whole bunch of rooms like that in one building with just many kids everywhere. You can't, like, it's too much to ask of anybody, and we're driving those teachers to the point of, like, how are they still doing this? But to kind of go back to that point, when we're talking about the guns and things like this, is I love your idea of like a culture class. Because again, I'm not against critical race theory at all or anything like that. But if we can't agree everywhere to do that, we need to find something to agree on. Like something like a culture class, I think, opens that door to be able to allow like critical race theory and things to come in, and it also teaches a lot more intolerance of other people. Now we have a lot of disgusting human beings in this world, and some of them are parents. Some of them will argue. Some of them are teachers. Some of them are, school officials, things like that.
But the thing with that though is, I feel we got to stop letting that be the reason why stuff doesn't go on. Like if it's something that we know is going to be better for the majority, as far as something positive, like this cultural class that I'm speaking on, we need to just push it through, because what's been going on for the past, since before our parents were born, is not working. No, it's not working. And I mean, I'll even just push up to when we were kids. It's not working. It's really not working, and it's terrible. It's sad, and it's just like, why this? And another thing, the cultural thing I was thinking of the other day, I've been thinking about it for a while. I was talking about it with someone the other day, and I was like, I'd mentioned the food thing. I was like, because I'd like to watch. There's certain YouTube channels I like to watch. Like there's one I watch with my wife. Mexican moms try different foods and stuff. I just like watching different cultures, even if they're trying their own foods or different. But how they take things, how people take on the things, certain things of culture, and food's like the one thing that I feel. It's one thing you could say whatever you want about it without being just like, this is nasty, I don't like it, or whatever the case may be, versus like, say, if you're learning about someone's religion, like, oh, this is stupid, this is corny, I don't care. That's not right. But with food, it's like you could kind of say what you feel about the food. If you don't like, you don't have to say how do you people eat it and all that. That's a little much. But it's like, I don't want this. And it brings people to food. Like I said, food brings people together. It's fun. And another thing is, as adults, we need to start thinking more as kids, as far as like the whole playing thing. As far as like kids, you bring kids to the playground. Say I have kids, you have kids. Someone Spanish has kids, someone Native American has kids, they're just gonna go and play. Even if we don't like each other. Let's just say we're all raced against each other, but you didn't push it on your kids. Okay, go play. Or not even that. Or it's just a matter of you're not even racist or hate anybody. You're just not, like, kids will go play. Adults will be just sitting on the benches all around watching, instead of, oh, our kids are playing. Hey, my name is blah blah blah. Yeah, you know what? Let's start scheduling something where we meet up and we hang out. Like things like that. I feel like that's another thing. You see kids. If you go to the park, you have younger kids. You see your kids playing. Introduce yourselves to the parents and all, just to kind of warm these relationships up. And I'm not saying it'll help, but I feel like when we were kids, parents kind of did that a little bit more. I feel like when we were kids,
everybody's on their phone now.
Because you can be 6 neighborhoods away, do something stupid, and you get home thinking you're in the clear, and someone snitched on you, and it's always someone else's parent. You never know who it is.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's the best thing, because you were on. It was like, okay, cool. We just we snuck out. We blah 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 blah. Mom's gone for the weekend. You get that mom comes back. Oh, well, where were you guys all weekend? Like home. Well, I have pictures right here.
Yeah, I know. It's such a different world too. And like, that's a great point, because I brought my kids to the park the other day. And you know, I hung out in the car and I was doing some work and on my phone, and they just were like, all right, we're gonna go play. And my 6-year-old goes, I'm gonna make some new friends.
I like that.
He didn't say what color they were going to be, what religion they follow. And he just says, I'm going to go make some new friends. And me, I'm just like, please do. Please do. Just go. I don't care. Just go make any friend you want. Just go have some fun. And we've lost, that is an art form that we have lost in this world. And but even like for me to just sit in the car and do work, whereas I could have gotten out. And a lot of the parents were sitting in their cars because it was right up against, and it's like, go play, I can see you, and I'm just going to chill here. But I should have gotten out. Why not connect with other people?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't, I'd even say here and there. I'm not saying buy someone a coffee, but hey, you know, let's make this when our kids come and play, let's make this a coffee day.
I love that.
Coffee. Let's make this a coffee. And again, it's just to show the children too that you see somebody like you're around. I don't want to say talk to strangers now, kids. So you see somebody around your age, you see kids. Go talk to the other kids. Go play with the other kids. We like you said, we lose that as adults because we're too focused on ourselves. We're too focused on okay, yes, I'm going to the park with my kids. They're gonna go play. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna get some work done while they're busy. And it's like, no, I'm gonna put this work down. They're gonna go play. Us adults gonna sit here, watch our kids play, drink some coffee, and have some adult talk, adult conversation, whatever. I don't mean wild stuff, but just the fun, whatever you talk about, and you can get those conversations off because the kids are over there playing. They don't even care what you're doing anyway. And it's just it's just like that community thing we've lost. And it's sad because, again, like I said, going back to then that way, when your kids go to the park, when your kids are a little older, they're going for a walk with their friends, and boys will be boys doing something stupid, not bad. I just mean something stupid. You'll know about it. But as soon as they get home, you'll be like, so you thought it was cool to just throw rocks at that tree, even though the lady told you to stop throwing rocks at that tree?
But even then, like, when do we become too much of a stickler? Like, I remember that happening as kids, like somebody telling you to stop or don't do this, and it's like, but if a kid is throwing rocks at a tree,
well, say it's a tree on their property, like there's more to it than that. But I'm just using that as an example.
Like, no, but like it does happen. Like, you get kids who just do random stuff that you remember. It's happened to us when we were kids. We would get yelled at and be like, "Don't do that," you know. And it's like, why? It's just, and I love Neil deGrasse Tyson actually said, he's like, let the kid throw the egg on the ground and see what happens. That's science. You know, but let them experiment.
You know what, sir? Neil, listen, eggs are way too expensive to be just letting them experiment.
That's true.
If you're gonna be buying eggs for everybody, because put it this way, Mick, if eggs were what they were now, back in the day when we were kids, imagine what your parents would have done to you if you're outside throwing eggs. And they're $8. Yeah.
It's so true.
You know, get out. Nope. You think you're grown? Can you afford these eggs? Get out.
Oh my God, so true too.
But no, you're right. Like you have to let them be kids. Yes, you have to let them. You know, you got to give them responsibilities and all that stuff. But you have to let them be kids, and we have to enjoy. We have to be able to be kids at times too. And that's why I'm saying with the whole park thing, having fun. Yep. Shoot, go on the swings with your kids. Even parents, go on the swings. Make a thing of that. It could be exhausting. I remember taking my niece to Billy Bees a couple years ago. Me and the wife did.
Listen, the Parks and Recreation Department of my hometown does not want me on their swings. They don't want to have to fix that every week. Okay. No, I agree. I 100% agree with you. Get out and do more. And listen, I want to. Oh,
no, just at the end of the day, as tiring as it is running around, going back to my niece. With my niece, we brought her to this place called Billy Bees. They have like slides, trampolines, all this. And I told my wife, I'll run around with her. I was exhausted. Yeah. I was exhausted. The second time we went, I called my brother. I was like, yo, I will buy you a pass to come hang out with us. I need a break. He came and he ran around the whole time. I don't know where he got the energy. I don't know where he has this energy from. He'll sleep for like 5 minutes and run with the kids all day. Me?
Oh, yeah.
I'll sleep all day and run with the kids and be like, all right, that was fun. I love you, but you're going home now because
I went out back the other day with my son. We were throwing the football around, and man, I was tired after like 20 minutes. I was like, I gotta go in. I was like, I'm exhausted. I was like, we're running around here. It's crazy. The dog has me going. I'm like, I need to go rest. And like, he's got full ball of energy. And I'm like, go ahead and run it out.
Running out. But again, with that though, then you have, say these parents you meet at the park, you become cool, comfortable. Now it's like, okay, now we can have play dates. Now your son or daughter can come over, or we can be at the park. They can throw the football at the park, and we can sit down and relax and drink coffee. We'll throw it with them for a little bit. Then the parents will get tired. We'll go sit down, do the parent thing. You guys go play, burn all that energy out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to some of the comments. David had some things to say. David said, "Ever seen the movie If with Malcolm McDowell? Kids and teachers and parents live with a constant ambient fear." It's true. My son was being bullied on the bus repeatedly. I talked to the parents civilly. The parents' response was, "We'd rather our son be the bully rather than the victim." So a lot of it begins at home. That's true.
Can we speak on that? Because that right there is so terrible and disgusting and wrong. Because again, the way I was raised was you don't bully anybody, don't ever start anything, but defend yourself. Don't let anybody bully you. Don't let anybody put their hands on you. Don't let anybody threaten you. Defend yourself. If you could tell. But again, 9 times out of 10 when we're growing up, it's usually when you're by yourself and you got to defend yourself. So defend yourself. That is 100% wrong. You should not want your child to be the bully or the one being bullied. You should want your child to be the one that's not going to bully somebody, the one that's going to stand up for somebody, and that's the kid you want.
Yeah,
that's the kid, not oh yeah, I'd rather you don't. No, that's stupid. That's stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I think because of the differing personalities in every kid, like there are some kids who are just never going to be the ones to stand up even for somebody else, but they may be the good friend to put a hand on your shoulder and be there for you when you go through the tough times.
But you need those friends too.
What?
I was gonna say you need those friends too, because
but then to raise kids in that way and to say, listen, if you're not the one that's going to stand up, be the one that is there. If that's what you want, or if you need somebody there, be the one who's willing to ask. A friend. So we grew up with don't be as open, don't be more, have a shell, be protective, and like that's true. But I think because the world is more open now, we need more empathy, so we need to start being more open and showing it.
We always did. It's just this whole being tough thing, and it's not. I don't even want to just say it's just a male thing. I think it's just kind of how we were brought up. If you just reading the history books, America's looked like to be the heroes in everything in the history. When you read the history books and all that stuff, and it's like you read this and you're saying it's like, oh, and just going back to the gun conversation, oh, they had guns. This is how they got this, that, and the third, and they're the heroes. So kids may just think, okay, the good guys and bad guys have guns, but I'm a good guy, so boom. I don't know.
My idealistic look at America has changed, of course, over the years. I love my country. I love where I'm from. That doesn't negate in other countries or what the powerful things they have to teach. My difference is when I look at other countries who have been doing this for way longer, than America ever has. Really, the thing that sets America apart from all of them is we are, by and large, are willing to do better. If we screw up, we'll at least be like, we're going to try and do it better. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's like that in this country. But by and large, as a country, is like, it's the only country where I'm like, oh yeah, we screwed up. We got to do better. Now, there's a lot of things that need to change.
Oh yeah,
but we're also a country that has changed, and maybe it's been subtle. Maybe it hasn't been, and maybe it hasn't gone over well at all times, or any of the plans that were implemented worked. But it is. We do live in a world where, if we want to see change, it is available to us. We don't have that. We don't see that in even other well-organized countries that are much older. They hold on to these traditions and ideals. I think we have the luxury of not having long enough traditions and ideals that we have to feel like we need to do it and stay on it.
You're right about that.
And I think that we are, I think by and large, we do make changes. There's just a lot of people who live in the past that maybe shouldn't be running this country.
And speaking on that, I feel like there should be an age thing, because I know, what is it, 35? From 35 to maybe 60, and then that's it. And that's not even, you can call it ageism, but somebody that's a certain age shouldn't be making the laws for a country they're not going to be here for in the next 25 years. And I'm not trying to be any kind of way. I'm not trying to be funny, but it's like this. You need to have more youth and diversity in there. That and a lot will change there. And this also goes back to the whole cultural conversation of if you start that in schools, people will be way more comfortable with the diversity. They'll be way more comfortable with the other cultures to where when we're adults, they'll really see things like, whoa, when they're in positions of power. Whoa, this is really, really, really wrong. Like, I understand these people now because I learned so much about them in school. I'm actually really good friends with these people because of what I learned in school over the years. And I'm not saying everybody's going to change like that or whatever, but I feel like a lot will be like, even if their parents aren't that way, they're like, no, mom, you're wrong. Like, this guy, not only is their food amazing, but if you learn about their culture, these guys are awesome. They're the nicest people in the world. Or, dad, these guys are great. You were right. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever the case may be. And that again, I feel like that can start from way back in preschool. Yes, I say preschool, all the way up through high school, and then again, if you want to add more in college, and just why not? Why not? Like we should that should be a thing in politics. Are you good with people? Like there should be one way you should prove that. One way or another, you should be proven that to show that you care about people. Because politics should be more about compassion than whatever the hell it's about. I don't know what it's about, but if it's at the end of the day, they're making the laws and all that stuff, so it should be more about compassion and helping and making the world.
Oh, yeah.
I look at it as like a worldly thing. I understand America, yeah, cool. I love America. I love my country. Don't get me wrong. But I look at it as like a worldly thing. Like if we could treat each other better around the world, like imagine just going to anywhere around the world to any of these other beautiful countries without having to worry about anything. Men, women, children, anywhere having to worry about anything. Everybody's eating. Everybody's fine. You just go and just learn about another culture, like going right to that country, learn about another culture. You can go right to this country, learn about another culture. Like going to North or South Korea. I know there's terrible, horrible things going on there, but just imagine if everybody treat each other right and you can go there and learn about that culture, but like how it should be. And I'm not saying we should implement how it should be, but I'm just saying as far as just treating people right, like that should be a right across the board. I don't want to get too deep into that because I'm going to start talking borders and how because all right, I'm going to say this last thing, I promise. The border thing, the way I look at it, with that, and again, it's about your families, right? Imagine you in that situation. People say they'll do anything for their kids. You would cross that border if you know to make a better life for your kid.
100% agree. I am all for. I'm not all for building a wall, and saying stay out. I think every home should have a strong door.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can take that as you will, and people could just be like, oh, so you're just going to put a door up in these people. And my feelings on it are yes, because it has to have a strong door, because we can't just let floods of people in, but doors open.
Boom.
And when doors open, you can invite in. And then that's a different story. That is a different way of doing things. Yeah. And that's not how we're thinking about it. We're saying build a wall, keep everybody out. We need a strong door. Now, of course, people who are taking that literally, I don't mean we need to build a giant door. I mean,
he's talking to you.
Doors open, and that's the mentality we need to have, that we can open the door and invite in. And then there's plenty of people we can say, we're not opening the door for you. You're a threat. You're somebody who's wants to come in and hurt me.
And here's why. See, and here's the thing here, though, because we have those same type of people that were born and raised in this country are just terrible. I almost want to be like, it's like kick them out of the. I don't want to send them to another country. It's like, look, you know how there's this one island that is just full. There's no people there. Let's just put all the bad people on this one island from whatever country. Just send them there. The ones that want to hurt, harm, and do all that terrible stuff. Just send them there. Don't even lock them up in prisons. Let's just send them all there. They'll fend for themselves because they don't know how to act. I don't mean for slap on the. I mean serious crimes or you're egregiously hurting people. Just send them all there, no matter where you're from. All the nice people go everywhere else but there. But these this little secluded area, go everywhere else but there. There's no way off of there. You're just going there, and it's because you're terrible. You'll have your food and all that stuff. But come on, people.
I do agree with you. I've always agreed we need term limits everywhere in the Supreme Court, Congress, House. We have a president who has term limits.
Do it every single time that we're going ready to vote a new president. All those other people should just switch every 4 years. Just do it with the president. Okay, this president's in. These are the people that are in when he came in. Let's get some more. I don't know how you'd get them in, vote them in, and all that. They could figure that out, but they should have term limits. You shouldn't be in this job from making those because you're in a position of power. When you're in a position of power for too long, you end up being corrupt.
Oh yeah. 100%. If you put term limits on all judges and said you can serve 15 years and then you're done. Now that doesn't mean that you just can't be. You can help become lawmakers. You can do whatever. You can take it to the next step. I'm not saying you have to be completely out of your game, like 15 years and you're not allowed to practice law anymore. But like judges, DAs, even and you know, to a smaller extent, even police officers, not term limits maybe, but say, all right, you got to be shuffled around, because even thinking at it from the perspective of like police officers who are out in like some of these really dangerous areas, that's constant every day in your life.
That's very.
Feeling that. And how is that going to make you? It's going to make you guarded. It's going to make you defensive. It's going to make you fearful of what could happen at any given moment. So of course you're going to be the aggressor when you have this power added to it. But it's now, and then this doesn't go for everything. And I'm just talking about in general.
Yeah.
Police officers, I think, need to be moved around. Some of these police officers who are in the easy details for 20 years of their life, and then you have these other guys for 20 years in their life or in some of the worst spots. It's like, you need to change this up. There needs to be, you need to give these guys a break sometime to go off.
Maybe even every few months or something. And I agree with that. And I also feel getting police, like the communities, especially like the minority communities, I'll say, comfortable, and the police comfortable with each other. And again, this goes back to the whole cultural class, because now you're comfortable with these cultures to the point to where, guess what? Now me and Mick grew up, we're both cops. And we're cops in the areas. I'm not saying you have to stay in the area you grew up in, but just now it's like, okay, now we're also cops in the areas we grew up in. We know these neighborhoods, we know these areas. These people know us, the families know us. And I know you need more police to do this, but it'd be cool like if the police can kind of come around these neighborhoods and just get to know people, because then you're more comfortable with them. You're more comfortable if you have to call them. You're also more comfortable just driving, just walking. I mean, as me, just driving, just walking down the street. Oh, hey, Officer Johnson, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Versus when you see them, like me, I don't commit crime. My heart races when I see cops. That shouldn't be like that. But because the way the world is, and it doesn't even matter what color the cop is. It's cops in general, black, white. It does not matter. So it's not even a race thing with me for cops. It's just police because of all the, don't got to get into that for sure. But again, going back to that whole cultural thing, it makes people more comfortable with each other, learn about each other. And then, then it's like, okay, now you got these police. And if you're policing a whole new area, a whole new neighborhood, I feel like there needs to be maybe a community day, say if it's at your local park or whatever, that area to where you can they can kind of meet people in the community that show up, get comfortable with these people, and kind of have that every so often, especially throughout the summer, spring, summer, you can have it a lot. Have it throughout and just get people comfortable with this. So then you see your cop walking down the street. Because I love the video to see when cops are, they get called. And kids are just playing basketball or doing something. The cops are playing basketball with them in the street or shooting, throwing the football with them in the street or something like that. We need more of that. We need a lot of that, because that, again, it's just all about people just being comfortable with each other, helping each other, and the rest will come. It'll take a while, but the rest will come. And again, the way that's been going on for all these years is wrong. We got to try other ideas, and why not try that idea? Why not try that idea? Why not try to implement it as soon as possible? Ignore the people. Oh, no, I don't want my kids to be learning about. Why don't you want your kids to learn about other cultures? You're not learning about history. You're not learning about slavery. You're learning about another culture, like right now, how this culture lives now, whatever the case may be, and go on. And then they're getting comfortable with this. You can learn about the culture, so your ignorant ass can stop being so closed-minded as well. Guess what, Mom? I'm going to bring you some of this chicken that so-and-so made. I'm going to bring you some of this halal food that so-and-so made. You're going to enjoy that. Oh, now stop acting like that. Like, it's just small things. It's baby steps, yes, but I feel like it can really help. Will it change everybody? No, of course not.
That's the thing, though, and that's what it was for a long time for the low level guys who walk the beat in the police world. It's called policing. You're supposed to live in the town that you're a police officer of, and that doesn't happen anymore because there's been an overflooded market of it, and the kind of the walls have come down. Like my father was a police officer in Jersey City for years. We lived in Jersey City. He was born and raised in Jersey City. He knew that entire town in and out. He walked the beat. He was a cop at a time where you walked. He didn't have a car, just walked, and they would have to call in on the boxes, You can't help in a situation like that, which they don't do anymore, but get to know people of all different shapes, sizes, colors, everything, because that's what a city is. And he would talk about it often, is like, you got to get out there and you got to police. And to him, that meant, and to a lot of police officers who are in that realm of thinking, and in this way, you got to know the people around town. They got to know you, and they got to be even feel safe to come to you and tell you things. You got to go into shops. So you got to go to the bodegas. You got to order the coffees. You got to get your lunches there. You can't stay out of it. You can't be detached, because if you're detached from your whatever area you're policing, then you look at this as like, I'm the enforcer. You're not looking at this as I'm their local cop.
Yeah, and for some, it might be, I'm scared of these people because of what I seen on TV or what may or may not go on in this neighborhood. Versus, okay, I know these people. I know these people here, and there's no reason to be afraid. They're cool. You know what? I play basketball with their kids in the park every freaking Saturday on my day off. Or just again, this whole communal thing that we kind of just walked away from. Why? I don't know. Yes, you can blame it on technology and phones, but at the same time, it's like you still see it here and there, and just make it more. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how, but like you were saying, having them walk the neighborhoods and all that, that should still be going on. That should still be going on. Not even for, and I mean, yes, they can still have their, like, I mean, I know they have the cruises and cars and all that now. They can still have that.
Yeah,
or you can get out, walk in the area, and just because it feels more, because sometimes you'll see cops just parked on the side of the road, and it's like, and you always feel something's wrong, and it's like, versus if they're just there talking, you know that they're parked there, they're walking the area, walking the neighborhood, they're shaking hands and all this other stuff, and I don't want it to be like the whole fake politic thing where they're shaking hands and kissing babies. Like, I want it to be like a genuine thing. Like, you grew up in the neighborhood or not, I want to know these people in this neighborhood. I'm going to be policing this neighborhood. I want to make sure this neighborhood is comfortable and safe with me. They feel comfortable and safe with me here, and I feel comfortable and safe within this neighborhood. And again, that's just, I don't know what has to happen for it, but stuff needs to happen, because this, again, all this crap that's been going on for all these years, been going on for too long. And I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm not saying we have all the answers, but I feel like some of these things that we are saying, and some of these discussions I've heard from others, with as far as like a positive thing, like a force, like, here, you need to learn about this. It's like, no, you learn about these cultures. Start with that. And I'm sure there's other things you can do too, but just small things like that. And again, like, if you're going to the park with your kids, you see your kids playing with other kids, go talk to the parents. Yeah. Communal. And again, this is the whole thing. So where we always say it takes a village to, to raise a kid. It takes us all to keep our neighborhood safe as well, including the police. And if we can all be comfortable with each other in this neighborhood, you'll know when someone that's not in your neighborhood is in your neighborhood. And I don't even mean that as a bad thing. Like, if it could be somebody that's visiting, whatever, I don't mean that as a bad thing, but it's just like, okay, I know every single kid in this neighborhood. I know their parents. I know what time they're supposed to be home. So, Jimmy, get your butt home, or I'm calling your mother in 2 minutes. Stuff like that. And that, guess what? Instead of that kid going out, sneaking out, going to do something stupid and bad because he knows the whole neighborhood knows him, and the whole neighborhood's going to tell his mother, he's just going to go home. I mean, unless he doesn't get caught, of course. But I'm saying just to go make that bad decision, like, that stuff helps. Like, I know we all make the joke about telling on each other and tattling, but as parents, we're supposed to tell on other people's kids.
Well, yes, it's a funny thing, and it's not funny actually, but it comes down to as well when you're so. Ratting has become such a huge thing for so many years. Like, don't be a rat, don't tattle, don't do that. And I'm not saying that I'm for it. I don't honestly know. And my whole life, you're always told, like, don't rat on anybody. Who are you? What are you going to do? And it's like, but at the same time, like, if you don't say something
could happen.
It's something bad can happen. But not just that. Like, if you don't say something about the kid who's getting bullied, because you don't want to be a rat, and then that kid kills himself or herself. And
the whole snitching, ratting thing, I think where people get it mixed up is like, that's more so for when you're doing the illegal street stuff.
Even then, like, at this point, it's in my life, it's like, we need to get rid of it.
I agree with you 1000%. What I'm saying is that was more towards, I'm not condoning. I'm just like, that was more towards that type of lifestyle. Like, yo, you did the crime, you do the time type of deal with me. But you're not telling on me because we both did something. People took that into everyday life. And that's where it is. Like civilians took that into everyday life. And then, of course, I mean, your parents would tell you, my parents don't tattle. That's so far. Like, say if my brother's doing something that's not going to hurt either one of us, who cares? You know when I tattle as a kid? Is when my mother's like, who did this? If you don't tell me, you're all getting spanked. I was like, oh, well, he did that. I told him not to. I didn't tell him nothing, but I know he did it.
Yeah, well, I think with my kids, one of the big things I'm trying to teach them is mind your own business more than don't tattle. So, like, if they're at school and somebody's acting up, it is on the teacher to figure it out. If a kid is doing something like throwing paper across the room or something, and like my kid looks over and says, "Oh, teacher, they're throwing paper." No, mind your own business. Yeah. It's not yours. If they're throwing it at you or another student you see in distress, then I get it. And it's not ratting. Even if it is, I don't care. Take the term away. We should be looking out for people and ourselves. Is what it comes down to. It's not really ratting.
We really should be. And it's a weird society. It's a weird thing because that's not even in like a minority culture. That's just in like a gang, mob, whatever type of culture. As far as the no rat, no snitch, that's just in that the street. I'll just say the street rules culture. That's one of the things. I'm not a street guy, never have been, never will be, because it's stupid. But that's like one of the main things is do not snitch, do not rat. But at the same time, it's not rat. It's basically do not snitch, do not rat, retaliate versus whatever, which is just stupid. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, we see it. And to use the police again as an example, a lot of people ask, like, what about the police that aren't causing all the trouble or aren't doing this?
Actually, that's very true.
But they're not putting an end to the ones that are.
Exactly. And that is something right there. That's a funny thing though, because you'll see commercials, you hear police saying like, if you see something, say something, blah 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 blah. But it's like, okay, but you guys just seen someone beat the hell out of somebody. You didn't say nothing, doing nothing. You're still holding hands with them, basically. I don't mean like locking arms, I'll say. But you want these people that do what they're doing for whatever reason. I'm not even gonna say for whatever reason they're doing what they're doing. You want them to go telling each other, but you won't do the same. And you're actually supposed to be serving and protecting. That's not their job title. I'm not saying that they should be doing what they're doing, because you're both wrong. But you, like, if me and you are cops and I'm the one that's doing wrong, turn me in. I shouldn't be a cop. And on top of that, I feel they should face harsher punishments than civilians do, because the reason I say that, if you were to harm a cop or whatever, you're going to face more time if you were to harm a civilian. If a cop with that authority, if they know, like, listen, if you're doing this and we find out it's 100% illegal, you're doing more time than what someone else would do for doing the same exact crime, because you're a police. You're supposed to be upholding the law. You're supposed to be, serving and protecting. Not, and I know people make mistakes and all that, but that comes with the job. There's certain things that just come with certain things.
Well, and also comes down to like an analogy of, say in your family, your brother, let's just show that your brother is going out and he's committing heinous crimes, or he's doing something violent towards other people, or whatever it is, and you know about it. And you just put your hands up and you say, he's my brother. That's my family. I'm going to let this unfold however it unfolds. I don't want to be the one to do this to them because they're family. What good does that do to anyone, even your brother?
None. As a matter of fact, I'd want to be the one to where it's like, either the first thing I would do, honestly, is probably try to talk to him, see if I can get him to stop, see what's going on. If I can't, depending on what it is, all right, we're going to have to, you may have to get the law involved, because it could save their life. It could save your sibling's life, and it could definitely save someone else's life.
Now let's incorporate that and talk about the Blue Line family. And I get it. And my father was a cop. My brothers are cops. Like, I hear it a lot, and I hear it all over this country. The Thin Blue Line family and things like that. And it's like, we cannot treat a job, a career, as though it's family, because then you start accepting the faults and say it's family. Whereas if my brother's out killing people, cop or not, whatever, or just committing heinous acts, and I'm another cop or whatever it is, however the scenario works out, you got to go down, man, because you're going to ruin the party for everyone. We're trying to do our jobs, and now we're all bad guys.
And that's a horrible thing. And like, I can't help, as far as police go, I don't hate police or anything like that, but I can't help that I have that fear because of what I've seen. And I guess I could say it on their end as well too, but I feel, again, if there's more consequences to when certain things happen, you know what I mean, then it's like, okay, now I see that. Like, I know, we all know there's good and bad in every profession, in everything in life, and that sucks because you don't know who's who. Especially when you're all wearing, let's say, just sticking with the whole cop thing. If you're all wearing, you know, you have a badge and a gun on, wearing the, you know, the cop get up, you don't know who's who, and it's sad and it sucks. Like, you should be able to feel 100%. No, scratch that. You should be able to feel. I'm not even going to put it just on the police. You should be able to feel 100% safe around anybody you're around. Not just police, not just for anybody you're around. You should feel safe. You shouldn't feel like somebody's going to harm you. Men, women, and children. That's the thing.
Yeah, and you know. Before going on to the rest, I want to bring up David. David says the days of neighborhood beat cops are gone. Yeah, I mean they still exist, but they are too far and few between. When you're in that car all day, every day, you are separated from the community that you're protecting, and it shouldn't just be even for the police officer about protecting. It should be about being a part of that community, and getting them out on their feet and doing that is a big step forward towards that. Now, Shake has a very unconventional idea that I don't know that I disagree with. Shake says there's an easy fix for all of it. Seriously, I've been thinking about this. Every American gets $1 million in life insurance. No insurance company would let an unfair murder go. They effing hate paying out to people. It'd be stronger movement than universal health care.
Honestly, that's pretty interesting right there, because at the end, as sad as it is, money talks for everything. That's the reason why things go on in the world. We all know that. And it wrote something like that to where it not only hits their pockets, and then if it hits the insurance company's pockets, $1 million for something like that, when someone dies like that they're gonna be like, okay, all right, we just gave out $55 million in a week. You know what? Let's talk to these lawmakers that we throw some money to. Let's throw to these politicians and that we throw some money to as well. Look, the money that you guys love to get, we got to pay to these people now. We can't even stuff our pockets, so we need to figure something out.
And I would take it a step further and bring it to the towns, bring it to the cities, bring it to the states, bring it to the country, and say if something happens, like say whether it happens through police, like we recently saw with these right
there is why I said, as far as the cops' race does not matter. My father always told me, he was like, cops that look like us, that are the jerks like that, are the worst ones, because like they put that, it's like they put that on, they think they're blue in a sense. They're not, you know what I mean? And I've never dealt with that, thank God, but that's just horrible. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying, when police do stuff like that, I don't care what color you are, you need to face more time than someone like me or you would jumping somebody.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are supposed to uphold the law. And yeah.
Hit him where it hurts. And I like what Shake's saying here, hit the people where their wallets are. And okay, if something like this happens and you have these police officers do this, now the victim or their family get paid out a certain percentage of the budget of that department.
Oh, that's another good one.
Or from the budget of the city council or the mayor or the governor. You start hitting the people who get paid through taxes in their wallets and say, well, you just lost 30% of your budget to this. They're going to find ways. They're going to make sure this stuff stops real fast. It's on top of that.
It's similar to what you're saying. It's a similar thing to like when, sometimes when the government will shut down because they can't agree on something.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens with that is like here, like, it's happened for me one time to where I didn't get paid. I work for the state, so I didn't get paid. I was missing on my paychecks because these fools couldn't figure something out. But they're sitting on their. It's like, you know what? Freeze every single one of their assets. Guess what? You can't drive that beautiful car you want to drive. You can't do nothing. These people are still going to get paid, and they're going to be getting paid off of your salary. So you guys figure this out. I bet you when it comes time to vote on those things in those rooms, they're not sitting down for a week having these whatever the hell they do. No, we're going to figure this out today.
Or taking, sometimes they don't come to it because they want to go on vacation early for Christmas or something like that.
They have that, like, oh, if it's not by this deadline, then guess what? Nobody gets paid. No, if it's not done by this deadline, guess what? You don't get paid because we still go to work and do our jobs. Like, why should I have to go to work and work for free because you guys can't agree on something? No.
Yep. That's the thing. Like, my wife works in a government department, and she gets to the point where, like, when they do have these shutdowns, she's out of work. Now the money, once they come back in, it's retroactively paid. But you remember the 45 days when Trump held out, and she went 45 days without being paid. Like, that's bills. That's things we have to do.
And that's my thing here is it's like, okay, so landlord, I can't pay my rent because the government shut down. I work for the state. So you guys just have to hold off on that. They're going to give me back pay. When they do, I'll pay you guys and all this other stuff. That's not fair to us because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah. That's not fair. Like, you're born and raised. You grow up, work hard, blah, 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 do it the honest. And we're doing the honest thing. And then you're still not getting what you deserve, what you've earned, what you've worked for. And then on top of that, they still have the nerve to tax the hell out of you after they done held your check for 45 days or whatever. I'm like, so you're giving me the back pay. Now, after the back pay that you owe me that I should have got, my regular paycheck, no matter what it is, everybody, your check. And it's like, okay, so yeah, okay, cool. It's going to be doubled, but it's not really going to be double because now you're taxing me double because I'm making double the money. No, cut me a check for this, what you owe me, and then cut me another check for what I just worked for and earned. Don't put it all in one check. That's the sneaky way.
You know what? And that's the thing. There's no consequences for the officials that are up there. And it comes down to, and like you said, you can take away their pay, but a lot of these people are rich. So they're good. They can be off and not have an issue. And then they know they're going to get retroactive pay for all that.
That's why I said if you freeze their assets, or it's like, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
Your salaries are going towards these people until this is taken care of, and you're not getting the money back because you guys are the ones that decided to take this long. You guys are the ones that decided, okay, we're going to, what month are we in? February. So say March 30th. This thing has to be implemented. So you have more than a month to do it, and you guys don't have it done by then. Guess what? You're not getting paid. These people that bust their ass and go to work every day, they're still going to get their job. You rich, filthy rich stuff in your pockets, throwing sandwiches over. I don't know what rich people do. I don't know if they throw sandwiches, but I'm just saying because it's wasting things. What I'm getting at, I'm not throwing a sandwich. I can afford to.
No, and I agree with you fully. It just, I think if there were more consequences for a lot of these officials, these politicians that are out there, where if you do something, or even if you hold out and these people are out of jobs, these parks are closed, things are happening. Parks being closed, not the worst of it, but you know what I mean? Like the government is shut down. Then when we come back, it shouldn't just be about, yes, we should hit their wallets, but we should hit it in a way where it's like, okay, you are not allowed to live in the governor's mansion where you live now for however long. Just some sort of consequence. I'm not saying that's a good one, but some sort of consequence that hits them in a hard place. That's like they might think twice about going to take that vacation.
And I like what Master Six said about hit them where the wallets. It's sad that we live in a world now, and think about this, people. We live in a world now where, for a lot of people, the toughest blow is hitting them in the heart, hitting them in the wallet and not the heart. Yeah. The toughest blow, and I mean more so people that can afford that financial blow. I don't even mean someone like that's just normal like myself. I mean people that can afford that financial burden. They're just like, oh man, now they hit me with this money, blah 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 blah. Now I feel like I got to do it. Versus the empathy for the people that, okay, these people go to work every day. Most people live check to check. If we're holding this out and they're not getting paid, someone's child may not eat. They're not thinking about it like that. They're just thinking of, I don't know what they're thinking, honestly. But it's like if it's affecting them to where, again, my child, because I'm saying freeze their assets. You can't go swipe your credit card. You can't use your status none of that. None of that.
It's funny that you say that too, because for me, in this world, the fact, and let's not even put it out to the world. Let's put it to this country.
Yeah.
We live in a country that's called the land of opportunity. We live in a country that boasts itself as, we may not always be moral, but we put in place laws and things like that are supposed to uphold that moral clause. And we have in this country, the children's starvation rate is insane.
It's terrible.
How we are not, how can we not? But I mean, we're also in a country that we have school shootings every week, and we're like, thoughts and prayers, this really sucks, but what are we going to do? Kind of hands are tied. Like, how we live in a country that boasts itself as the land of the free. And, for anybody who's watching and saying, like, how could you, what gives you the right to say that? I'm an American, I can say it because it's happening. And it's an opinion. Deal with it. Everyone's got one, just like assholes and elbows. But my take on this being, above all else, how can we not agree that children should always have a meal that they shouldn't have to pay for?
Yes.
Like, there are kids, like, my kids will pack lunch, or sometimes they'll buy whatever, and we'll put extra money on. And if there's a kid, and we tell them, if there's a kid who can't afford to eat or can't afford to get something to eat, and maybe in brown bag or whatever, take some money off our card and give them a meal. Do that. And it's frowned upon. You can't do it. You're not allowed to do that. You can't. And then we're like, and we're telling them it's okay, but they're still like, no. There's rules implemented. How are we live in a country where we're not even empathetic enough to take care of children?
How do we live in a country where prisoners can eat free and children can't?
True.
And don't get me wrong, because I do. Those should be more of like a rehabilitation thing, depending on the crime, and kind of get people out and acclimated back into society. That's another story. Too much money being made there to why the reason why it's not the way it should be. But it's that right there, though. You hit the nail on the head. Like, school, breakfast, lunch should be free for everybody. I don't care how much money you make or don't make, because it's the kids going there. Kids are broke. I don't care if you're rich, your kid's broke. Like, if I'm rich, my kid's broke. I'm not saying I wouldn't take care of my kids. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that's not his money or her money. They should be able to go to school and eat for free, just like anybody else should be able to go to school and eat for free. Of course, here's some money. Yeah. And as far as what you were saying about you, I love that you guys do that. But now they're saying you can't. Oh no, yes, you have this much money on your lunch, so you punch in a little number, but you can't buy this kid lunch. You have to get it. No. And I would. You can call, if I, kid in school, you can call me every day. Hey, Aaron, it's against the rules, but your son bought school lunch for somebody. Okay, well, why are you calling me about that? You should be happy that he did that, so this child can eat and think in school, and they're not thinking about, oh, I'm hungry. They're thinking, oh, I ate. I can think. I can do what I got to do in class, because there's days where we've all been there where you're hungry and that's all you're thinking about is your stomach hurt, and there's kids that, money's tight at home. Their parents are working, they're doing what they can, but money's tight. Everything goes up except for pay, which is sad. Like, everything will go up about 45%. Pay will go up like, oh yeah, we'll give you a 2% raise. Even though everything is up way up here, we'll give you a raise to get you to about right here. So you're just above that bottom line, or just touching the bottom line. No, that ain't right.
Master Shake is saying, I got to give him a lot of credit. He's very smart with this, and he understands the school system very well, especially. But he says here about, when we were talking about the wealth gap, the generational wealth gets superseded. The people who get brutalized rise up and distribute their wealth to protect their communities. And to our point earlier of, causing those consequences, things like that, and hitting them where it hurts in their wallets. That's a great point. But to the school point, imagine if we treated schools the same way we treat prisons. $22.5K a year for every prisoner, $8.5 per year to educate a student. Think about that. $8,500 a year. $8,500 a year seems so low.
That's horrible.
And for prisoners, and I'm not saying that prisoners should never, there are also Americans that are in there. Yes, they cause crimes, but we shouldn't, they shouldn't be living in like a dungeon. Like they should be taken care of.
Because a lot of them made mistakes. Some of them really are innocent. I know everybody may say I'm innocent. Like, you've got in trouble in school, Mom, I didn't do it, but you really did it. But no, a lot of them really are innocent. Not all, maybe not even half. And that's why I was saying that prison needs to be a rehabilitation thing. But that right there is another issue right there. Like, you're putting more money into prison than education, and then you're wondering why things happen the way they do in this world. It's like, well, you put this money towards education to where we have the best education anywhere, and to where, and I'll say this, education should be equal all across the board, no matter what neighborhood. If you grew up in the suburbs, if you grew up in, the inner cities, all across the board, because it's not the kids' fault that they can't get a better education. It's nobody, you know what I mean? Put more money into education so these kids can get this stuff, get the education they need. And also, again, I feel like I said, with the whole cultural thing, there needs to be something where you need to learn learning how to treat people is a very, very, very important thing. It needs to start from childhood all the way through adulthood, maybe even sometimes at jobs, taking certain classes. Maybe at every job, there's, how you watch that one video for, like, if you work in a warehouse, the safety videos, something like that. Why not have something like that with just how to treat people, just in general, just as like a refresher reminder? Just because I feel people forget that, even knowing as an adult, people still forget that, because you're just going on how it's going to inconvenience you versus, oh, that's, that makes sense. That's a good idea. Then again, because you see this with adults, you'll see someone from a different culture, but you're coming into work, and instead of somebody, some people talking about, like, with the whole, I'll go back to with 9/11. Yes, I know people were saying that as Americans, we all stood up together, but as Americans, there was a lot of people that are also harming people that had nothing to do with that, which was sick and terrible. And this goes back to learning about other cultures and learning about how these cultures really are, not how the extremists are from wherever people are. That comes from America and all around this world. And so that's what it's learning about people and treating people right, and learning how to do that, and learning about other cultures, I feel like is a really, really important thing. And especially because America's a melting pot. There's so many different beautiful cultures here. Why aren't we learning about them?
And it always has been. That's the funny. And I'm not even talking about the white settlers that moved in early on, and of course the black people they brought in as slaves and things like that. When I say melting pot, it's there's always it's always been that, in that this has been a place that's been discovered, taken over, conquered, however you want to say it. But it's open to so many. And that's not me trying to glorify it or anything. That's me saying, like, it just is. It's a fact. Like, it just, this more than any other country. Go to Sweden, tell me that it's open to everyone. Go to the UK, go to, it's not, but here it is. We are open to everyone. We just need to start learning to be more respectful and understanding of everyone. Now, and it comes down to, like, okay, so with your spending on education, I looked it up, and we spend in this country $60.34 billion in total. That's an average of $1,100, well, just shy of $1,200 per pupil per student. But our defense spending is 1.9 trillion,
and that's a problem.
Trillion, and then our debt ceiling is like.
And then we wonder why, as far as like America, when it comes to the higher ups, you wonder why America's so violent. You're spending the most of your money you're spending on defense, weapons, and all that, and you're not spending not even half that on education. Why? Education is very, very important. And I don't even mean the stuff that they learn in schools now, all the book stuff. Yes, some of it they should learn, but education should also be changed as far as maybe middle school. You start learning about stuff you actually need to know, job applications, all that other stuff. Just so when you're out in the real world, you already know how to do that. Like, when I got into the real world, I barely knew how to fill out a resume, to write a resume. And my parents didn't know. Like I told you, my dad's 80. I don't think he's ever had to do a resume. My mother, I don't know if she's ever done a resume or not back in the days, but again, they're older. If you're learning this in school, plus things, and on top of that, things change. Like, even if they did do resumes, they're writing it on pen and paper versus us typing it up nowadays. They're like, shoot, I work for the state now. Just 5-6 years ago, I learned what a cover letter was. Yes, that might be sad. And yes, some people might be thinking, like, how don't you know that? But if you're not taught it, and people who raise you don't know about that, how are you going to learn about that? And stuff like that we need to know is what needs to be implemented and taught in schools, along with, like home and careers, home ec. That's a very, very, very important class. I don't know why that's not all the way through school. Home ec can start off with little kids, as far as teaching them how to clean things up, how to make their beds. And yes, again, you can learn how to do it at home, but if you're practicing this at school, let's say they have little bed things, they can learn how to make their beds and just little things like that, and learn how to take care of things. And then, when you get a little bit older, you can learn how to cook some things. You can learn how to sew, and because it's important. Everybody, male and female, you should know how to do all of that stuff when you're an adult.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
even cleaning or taking care of things and having that respect for your own space.
Exactly.
Like these are important. Like I remember we had a home ec class. I think it was my sophomore year of high school. And on one side, it was like a row of sewing machines. On the other side, it was like kitchens. It was like full kitchens that you can go and do. And I can tell you with a surety, we never touched anything in there.
Are you serious? See,
we never touched. We would go into class, and I can't even tell you what I learned in that class, but we never touched anything in there.
Man, that was one of my. Oh, go ahead.
And it was a home ec class. That's the thing. Like it was that's what the class should have been for. But it's almost like, here's your test, learn the theory of how to do this, but you've never actually done it. I'm a hands-on learner. Being able to touch things or do it like really helps me grasp the concept. And for me to be I did not learn cooking from that class, but I have never said in my life, this trigonometry is going to help me. No, I have said, I wish I knew how to sew.
See? And so for me, they actually, well, I don't know how it is now, but when I was in school at home ec, I learned how to sew. I don't know how to sew. But again, I haven't done it in years. But I remember I sewed it was a pillow with a Lamborghini on the front. I gave it to my older brother, and this was back in middle school, and he still has it, which is just dope. But I've learned how to do that, learned how to cook in there, bits like little things. And I had home ec because I live in Schenectady and Colony, and both they taught you how to do stuff. And I think home ec should just be a whole hands-on thing of learning how to do the home things, just learning what to do at home. I mean, why not learn that? And yes, I know people say, well, it's the parents' job. I get that. But at the same time, you're sending your child to school for 8 hours a day. I feel like they should be leaving with tools to be able to survive, learning little by little, of course. Why learn about all this other stuff that's nonsense that you're never going to use? I'll say probably about 90% of stuff I learned in school I've never used in my life outside of school. And I feel like that's just a waste of time.
Well, and also think about all the math classes. You're never going to have a calculator on you. We got it all now.
I get it. Add, subtract, multiply, divide, learn about money, learn about percentages, even fractions, because anything that has to deal with money, I think you should know about that. But again, that's as the kids get older, it's like kind of getting deeper and deeper into that. And my wife was telling me, so she's from Rochester, New York, and she was telling me when she was a kid, like when she was going to school, and she lived like in a Spanish neighborhood, that the schools, the way they would teach is the beginning of the day, say you have math, science, and English, or say you have math and science, right? Beginning of the day, and you have English in the end of the day. They'll teach it all in English for the first half of the classes, or the first, and then Spanish will be the second, and then they'll flop it, I think, the second half of school. So not only are you learning this stuff, but you're learning it in 2 languages, which helps you later on in life and jobs to make more money because you know multiple. Now you know at least 2 languages, maybe more. So instead, but I'm not saying just make it English Spanish. But if you're like, okay, you have the English class just because of where we live. Yes, I'm not saying English is the only language in America. I'm not that ignorant. But you have the English, and then you have what other languages you want to learn. There's also a whole cultural thing, because then it helps you more in the long run. If you learn,
you're forgetting that in this world, in this country alone, let's just talk about this country. We have a school system that is hell bent more so on getting the money for the standardized testing and just teaching that. Now, when I say school system, that does not mean teachers. I do want to, or educators in that sense. I know many teachers who stand against the standardized testing. They realize that it's their job. They got to do it. They got to prepare, but they take that extra time to teach, and that's what they do. I'm talking about the officials. But here's the thing. If the kids don't meet their requirements, right, in a school or in a district or whatever with the testing, they will let go of teachers with no issue. They'll let go of faculty with no issue. But do they ever go to the superintendent or the school board and say, okay, your salaries are getting lowered? You're going from $120,000 a year to $90,000. And if it happens next year, you're going to go lower.
Yep.
And if they tell you when you finally get down to $40,000 a year, that's not enough to survive, go talk to a teacher.
Boom.
You know, because they're making it happen and they're doing a lot more.
They need to be making a hell of a lot more. Like, honestly, everybody's underpaid. The way that everything's going up, everybody's underpaid because it's just, I don't know, man.
I know we're never gonna have the answers, but we need to ask the questions.
I see, and here's the thing, though. I'll say this: we do have some answers. We do have some. We don't know how well they'll work, but I feel like they'll work better than what's going on now. I feel like
to cut you off just for a second. I do apologize. I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to interject on that one point. Is we don't have the answers, but we have ideas, and that's what needs to be spread. And we need more ideas, and that's the problem. Enough people aren't willing to listen to those ideas. And I think that's where it comes from. It's guys, girls, and everybody in between talking like this and saying, let's just throw ideas out. They can be bad, they can be good, they can be whatever. But if we throw these ideas out, we'll see change because we'll have new ways of looking at things.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And I feel like the bad thing about, I'm trying to think of how to word this. That's a great idea. And then here's the thing about these conversations too, though. On the flip side, is you have people that are just always against something, just always be against it, and that right there hurts because now there's no progression going.
But have you ever talked to somebody who's hard-headed and you're trying to talk to them and it just seems like everything you're saying is not getting through, it's not cutting through, and you're talking to them, you're not finding out about them, you're talking to them about a subject and they're just hard-headed, they don't agree with you, it's this, that, or the other thing. A lot of that happens with an older generation, I find, but it can happen with anybody. And then you change the tune and you say, you know what, ask questions rather than talk to, and you start saying, well, why do you feel this way?
Yeah.
And then they start thinking and they're like, well, and then they lower those defenses, but we don't ask enough. We do, sensible people do, but in this country we don't ask the tough questions, especially higher officials, because if they ask those questions, they're gonna have to come up with answers, and they never want to come up with answers.
You know what it is with that too, though, is, and I mean, I don't even think this is your fault. It might not be good, but it's not necessarily your fault. You just don't think of it. For some, if it's not affecting you, you don't even think about certain things. You don't care. So for like higher ups with certain things, oh, my kids don't deal with that. So versus, oh my God, my kids don't deal with that, but I couldn't imagine. No, this needs to be changed. Not only this needs to be changed right now. This needs to be changed right now versus, but there's a lot of people that, oh, we don't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with that. Like, I feel empathy for people that are starving. Like, men, women, children, that's terrible to me. Like, I'm the type of person, if I know you're hungry, if I have it, I'll split my sandwich with you because I know you're starving. I'll give you my whole damn sandwich. I'll just go grab something else, or I'll go grab you something to eat. Because going back to the child hunger thing, like, I don't understand how people don't have that empathy. I don't understand how you just don't automatically have that. Like, you know how it feels to be hungry, even if you're not to the point of where you're starvation and you can't afford it. You just know how it feels to be hungry and how you get when you're hungry. Say you're out and about, I can't stop to get something to eat. You start getting a little moody, and oh man.
Well, think about this. Think about it this way. We live in a world where Rihanna is up on stage, and I'm going to just say it. If you have a problem with what Rihanna did on the Super Bowl, it's because of race. That's the only reason. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. It's because of race. It's because she's a black woman on stage. Because I've never heard this argument about the Rolling Stones on stage or Bruce Springsteen or anybody else. Let's be. And Bruce Springsteen glided across into his crotch into a camera. Nobody said a thing. But if you want to say this, it's a race thing. And you guys whoever has a problem with it has to come to terms with that on their own, because we're never going to convince you. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, no, it's too sexual, blah, blah, whatever. Now, my point there is we live in a world where people are very quick to judge, get angry about how a Super Bowl show goes. There's something they don't like, and they want to be up in arms and talk about how it's affecting their children. It's affecting the world. This shouldn't be on TV. But when you but these same people, when they're watching AMC or the news or something like that, and a child starving commercial comes on, like if you donate this for this amount, and they show the pictures of the kids that are suffering, you quickly turn it off because you don't want to see that. And then you don't talk about it. You put it in your drawer, you close the drawer in your mind, and then that's it. You compartmentalize and move on. You don't want to have an opinion on that, because any other opinion than we need to fix child starvation is the wrong opinion. Yeah. But you'll have an opinion on a woman who's pregnant dancing in a show that was a hell of a spectacle, and it was probably more entertaining than any of the commercials that were rolling around. But you have an opinion about that because it's easy to have an opinion about that.
You're absolutely 100% right about that. It's because with that, it's not a real problem, so I can complain about it and I don't have to figure out. I don't have to worry about how can we make this better. But with the starvation thing, it's like, okay, so how can we make this better? How can I help? Then it's like, okay, now I'm really putting myself on the front, like I'm putting myself out there, and it's just one of them corny things where people just they see it. They want to, they want to be a part of that viral moment or whatever. Okay, let's all complain about. I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. You guys already know my issues. My team didn't make it, so I didn't watch it. That was my issue. I'm not upset that Rihanna performed. I'm upset the Eagles were
there. That's fair. And you know what? That's
but you're absolutely right, because it's always about it's sad. It's stupid. It's stupid. Yeah. It's always about the race thing, and it's always about this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on now. That's not even that big of a deal. She didn't like take all of her clothes off, and they showed that on camera. No.
I think at one point she put like a really big puffy jacket on, and they're still complaining. Who cares? First of all, she was covered head to toe. So where is the scandal in that? I think at one point she was just dancing. I don't even like. It's not even worth arguing. Like even me picking it apart to say you're an idiot for picking it apart still feels so trivial, but it is. These are the people who will complain about it, and it's 100% a race thing because they complained about all the hip hop artists from last year, which I'm like, these are like some of the top hip hop artists. I'm surprised they're in the same room together, not because they don't like each other, because they are the top. They're at the top of the heap, and getting them all together must have cost astronomical sums, but whatever. And neither here nor there. That's my feeling on it. Is like, how did it?
I'll say if you do want to make it a race thing too. I mean, a lot of the NFL. I'm not even. We could say yes, minorities, but then you can also say there's a lot of younger people that enjoy hip hop, that play the sport, that are in the sport. You hear the music during their practice. You hear the music, so it's like, why wouldn't they do this? I'm not saying that they shouldn't bring other acts in. Yes, they should. Maybe even do a thing where you just have a mix of acts, where you have like an act, mix of genres. I don't know. The Super Bowl, though, everybody's going to complain during the halftime show. Everybody's going to complain no matter what genre they bring it in. If they bring it in as far as like, okay, I don't really care for this music, fine. But if you're doing the whole nitpicky of how they're performing and this and that, like, come on now. Just change the channel, go to the bathroom, do what you got to. That's like for halftime shows, that's my time to get up, go to the bathroom, stretch, get some more food. Whatever I got to do.
Like, who cares? But that's the thing, though. And that's why I bring up the race and that it is a fact about race, is because, again, when it's a white artist, you don't hear complaints. There are not black people complaining that a white artist was crude or did something that was it was just not I don't know what's the best term for it. Was sexual or whatever else. You don't hear those complaints when it's a white artist. You don't hear other races complaining about it being a white artist doing these things. You do hear white people complain when it's somebody who's not their race. Now, I'm not saying everyone, and I'm not trying to throw all white people under the bus on this or anything. I had no problem with it. I love Rihanna. But there were. And usually it's older folk.
Yep.
And it isn't because of the sexual nature, because let me tell you something. They watch some shitty shows with some really dumb sex stuff in it. They'll watch SUV or whatever for 20 hours a day with all of that sexual stuff in it, and then complain about Rihanna and say, well, it's not a race thing. Yeah, it 100% is.
You for the older generation, you can go back to the music they listen to. You can go back to the artists that they like. Elvis, didn't he marry a 14-year-old? Enough said.
He used to have slumber parties for teenage girls.
Jesus.
I know. And we don't see it. But Chuck Berry has never lived down having sex with a white woman. I didn't, and taking her across state lines and then getting arrested for trafficking.
That's ridiculous.
But Elvis, whatever he wants, and he gets a movie about him, and he's nominated for an Oscar. Like, the kid did a good job. Don't get me wrong. And
I'm not speaking on actor. I'm just saying, just how those things go. Here's the thing, people. As far as certain artists that we all love, look up to, or the music, the bad stuff they do, call it out. We can't just say, "Oh, well, that's my." Just call it out, or if you want to ignore it, but don't sit here and Rihanna did nothing wrong. She's a beautiful black queen who did pregnant at that. Who did that? That's amazing right there alone. That's strong. That should be about woman empowerment of every race. Hey, women, we can go out here. Look at this. I perform on the stage. You can do it too. Boom.
No.
End it right there. It's a beautiful message. Dave, you said you got to run in a minute. The positive message is we're having these conversations, different races, without arguing, bickering, and all this other stuff. And you're an amazing person. You have an amazing day, and you have an amazing weekend. Scary Snobs just dropped. That's positive. That was last night at 11 o'clock.
That was fun.
Another show on the Scene Snobs. I planned on being in the comments, but I fell asleep because I was in a game and stuff. But
I can make it. I can make it an earlier time. I didn't want to make it at 9 because sometimes your show goes a little over.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Maybe 9:30, maybe 10 or something would be good. But I thought it would be fun to have a horror block of horror with Sir Sturdy, and then you got the Scary Snobs.
I loved it. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all.
And you know what? I do like that. I want to go over the comments real quick because a lot of people have some really good stuff to say. But then I want to turn over a little bit and talk about some positive stuff that we might have some just some fun stuff, movie stuff, things like that. But okay, let's see what we got. Okay, George G3 says they have free lunches during the pandemic return. The government is a sham. Agree with you. Sadly, people would say it should be flipped. I say that they should get equal at 22.5 thousand or even more. Infrastructure is the only way to elevate the world. Invest in people and the systems they need. 100% agree. The current traditionalist movement of Islam is the equivalent. That's the equivalent of he's saying like the melting pot and people come in historically and so I'm not telling you, I'm telling them. And socially to the fair to the Spanish Inquisition. Imagine if the Inquisition had access to tech. Oh Jesus! Grabs coffee, sits down, turns on SnobNation. My favorite morning show. We love it. Thank you, Dreamy. Never forget, every issue is a wealth gap issue. The wealth is more than money. The Great War is a true cultural war that has been waged for centuries. The only true us and them is always wealth versus.
You're right.
You son of a gun. You cut me off. Not you, him. When she grabbed her butt cheek, I personally thought she was farting and trying not to have it. I don't blame her if she was. She was pregnant and dancing on stage.
Yeah.
You gotta believe how uncomfortable she was. Shake said he liked the Scary Snobs. It's hard night. He caught the ends.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you, Shake.
Late as heck in the morning. Hi everyone. What's up, Radar? How you doing, pal?
Hey Radar, what's going on?
So to switch gears a little bit and such, I want to talk a little bit, and I would love to hear your feelings on this, especially with Popcorn and Pints, your show where you kind of analyze two shows that seem very different, but they have a similar theme.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about toxic fandoms in movies.
Ooh.
And we got about a half hour before we start signing off and stuff. So I really want to get your opinion on this. And I'm going to be holding a panel on this, specifically more to talk Marvel. So I'd love to have you if you want to be and join in, because I really want to go in depth on this. But I want to talk to you about it now if you're up for it. And that is like, let's take Ant-Man for example. Ant-Man right now is getting lambasted by critics and people all over saying it's terrible. I went and saw it last night. I know a lot of people are going to see it this weekend, so I'm not going to ruin anything, but go check out my review. It's nobody gives movies a chance anymore in these fandoms, I think. I think it really becomes hard because we all go in with this expectation in our heads, and it's almost like if you don't get what every person is expecting, you're ruining it for them. And how do you feel about this and like kind of where you see it evolving from?
See, and I feel you can relate to this as far as like movies go, and I'll say with the horror shows and with Popcorn and Pints, it's the movie reviews that we do and all that, and with the fandom thing. I look at them a little bit different because I have to watch the movies and give you guys my honest opinion with the reviews and stuff. So it's like I can see that people are, say, if they're like diehard fans of this and they're just like, oh, they did this, this movie came out and they did this, or people that are just casual fans of like, hey, I enjoyed it. So but the toxic fandom I don't like is the gatekeepers. I don't like gatekeepers at all. I don't like the people who, if you haven't seen this, you're not a fan of. I think that's the most toxic thing you could say. If you haven't seen this horror movie, how can you call yourself a fan of this genre if you haven't seen this movie, this specific movie? And I can't stand that. And then as far as I get it, as far as like being a fan of it, to where not that part of it, but to what you're saying, as far as like you're upset about how this movie is because of how good the other ones were. I understand that. I don't think it's a bad thing just because you have those expectations. But I will say, try easier said than done. Trust me, because I'm terrible. I'm still working on it. You have to go into these movies with zero expectations. You have to. Yep. And try not to read, like for me, I try not to read reviews before I see it. I skip trailers. Even in theaters, I've been like I'll just look at my phone when the trailers are going on, just because if for horror movies, I'll say, because that's what I usually go to theaters for, me and the wife. So I know when I'm going to see this movie in theaters, I have zero expectations. I don't know what's going on. And boom. So I feel at times too, you watch the trailer and the trailers, they always give you like the part you're supposed to be most hyped about. And then once that's the best part of the movie, and then that's like it, and there's no other thing around it, that makes it a little thing too. So maybe try things like skipping trailers, skipping the reviews. Besides when we do our podcast, watch those, but watch the movie first, come back and watch them. But no, seriously, like the reviews, the spoilers, skip all that stuff, have zero expectations about it, and just kind of go in as just, yes, it's a sequel, but it's still a different movie. Yes, it's connected to that movie, but it's still a different movie. And there may be different people that worked on that movie, maybe different ideas. We may agree with them, we may not. And just kind of go in it like that. It does suck at times, though. It does suck at times. Don't get me wrong, because you're thinking about like Halloween Ends is a great example.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think Halloween Ends is a great example because it was like, okay, for me, 2018, you got that. I enjoyed it. I know everybody didn't. Then you got Kills. I was like, okay, it's okay at best. Ends, I hated it.
Yeah,
I hated it. I'll probably never go back to it. That's me, but I'm not going to bash you if you enjoy it. I'm not going to bash you if you've never seen it. You're still a horror fan if you enjoy horror. I don't care if you're only like one horror movie in your life.
And I think you should be open to enjoying anything, really. Like, because if it speaks to you, it speaks to you. But joining the masses for it, it gets ridiculous in my opinion. I just want to check the comments while we're going, kind of keep up with what we're talking about. I think honestly, there's a contingent giving it a bad review simply because they recast Cassie, which Catherine Newton is fantastic in it, and she's a seasoned actor in her own right, even for a young woman who's still sort of up and coming, but she's led movies. She Freaky, other movies like that. She has been the lead. And let's face facts. Obviously, Cassie now has a suit. She's going to be a big portion of what this is and going forward. So you need an actor who can lead a movie. And you get somebody who didn't. They did, in my opinion. She did great. Honestly, it's too easy to review things. Social media has disintegrated integrity when it comes to that and contributes to toxic fandom. I love that, and I do want to bring that up to you as a reviewer and myself as well. What are some? I know for me, I have a set of rules that I've always lived by when I review, especially because when I'm reviewing two people, and people are watching or reading my reviews. I have a set of rules. Like, I will not review anything. Like, I know a lot of filmmakers, and when they send me stuff and they're like, I will review it, but I will not, like, there's stipulations to it. So, like, if you're a friend of mine, I'll watch it and I'll review it and I'll tell you what I think. Or I will come to you beforehand if I didn't like it and say, listen, I look for the good in every movie I watch. I look for something that I really appreciated, because I do believe in every movie there's something you can find that you appreciate. Some of it may be asinine, some of it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's something you're going to find and appreciate, and you should talk about that just as much as you talk about the things you didn't like.
Mhm.
And when it comes to a friend who gives me a movie, I say, I can either not review this, give it to one of like you guys, other snobs, to review. So it takes the element of the friendship out or whatever. But if I don't like it, I'm going to ask you, is it okay? Or would you rather I don't review this? And they may not want to know and be like, could you just not review it? Not, I think that's okay too. I respect that as a friend and do that thing. But I'm not going to walk in and pretend like you made the greatest thing in all time.
Yeah.
Because I hate, and I don't prejudge movies. I hate that. I hate when reviewers are like, I think this is going to be bad, and I'll give you my review after I go see it, because you are already biased. You're already saying, I don't like this, and I'm going to tear it apart.
So for me, as far as like when I get, for the times I do get people that want me to review their films, I'll tell them straight up, I'm going to be 100% honest with my review, whether I like it or hate it.
That's why I like your reviews.
And they're fine with that. And then what I'm starting to do now, which anybody who does indie horror, what I'm doing now, what I'm switching over with is having you come on, like say if you want us to review your movie, having you come on for the review/interview. So that way you can kind of tell us why certain things happened the way they did. Give us a better understanding. I've done it a couple times, and honestly, it's fun because it makes the interview fun and easier on both ends. And you're discussing and the topic, it's easier to stay on topic as far as, okay, they're pushing this film, they're promoting this film. Now we watch it, reviewed it. You're reviewing it with us, and they're reviewing it as well. And it's just kind of a fun thing to kind of, how was it on set? Why was it like this? What were you trying to tell with that? And it just makes it more entertaining. So that's, for me, on my end, the way I do it, I just 100% honest, blunt, whatever, negative review, positive review. I'm going to let you know how I feel about it, but it's cool. Who just said it? Radar, about the whole, there's plenty of movies that I hate. I would never bully anybody because they like a movie I don't like. That's stupid. That we can have conversations, we can have the back and forth, we can have the jokes, like how we can crack jokes back and forth and all that. That's fine. But as far as when it gets personal and all that other stuff, how can you like this movie? You're stupid for liking this movie and all that bullying. That's corny.
It's so funny you say that too. And to your credit, we started doing lives because I appreciated what you were doing live with your reviews. So like that's when I turned our reviews live, because now I'm telling the audience, tell me what you think live right now, because if you like something and I didn't like it, I want to hear why you liked it, because your opinion is just as important.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's why we try to do those lives, to incorporate people's opinions. And maybe I'm not above changing my mind. If you are, then you're dead in the water, because you're not going to go anywhere. So somebody can argue with me, and they have turned me around on movies, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't see it from that perspective. I'm going to watch it again, and I end up liking it. Now, you and I have a movie, and this is your fault, and I hate you for it, but
welcome.
Blood Lake.
Watch it, people.
Watch it. And I love that Sturdy says that, because it's the movie he hates the most in this world. But he tells everyone to watch it and let them know. And now I watched it, and it's a bad movie. But I've watched it, unfortunately, 3 times in my life because of this man.
Nice.
No, I watched it like 3 times because of you.
You beat me by 1. I only watched it twice.
And I watched it, and I was like, you know what? This is a bad movie. But I found good in it. And I was like, I don't hate it, though. I don't think it's the worst movie. And actually, to Shake's credit right here with his comment, it's because I did make the worst movie of all time. And it's called Second Grade to Love. It's an absolute dumpster fire. So I can appreciate bad movies as it goes on in movies like that, because I've been there. We tried very hard.
Blood Lake is a great example, because as much as I disdain that movie, and I really do, it still deserves. I'm never gonna tell you not to watch a movie because somebody created it for someone to watch, and someone may be a fan of it. And I think about it also, like at horror conventions. Like I don't get me wrong, I love talking about the the big name movies like the Halloweens and all that, and Friday the 13th. But there's something special about have you ever seen Blood Lake? Yes. Oh, I loved it. Oh, I hate it. Or Thanksgiving. Like, I made a good friend, a great friend, bringing up the movie Thanksgiving and talking about it in line at a con. So there's just something about those type of films, and this goes back to the reviews of be honest about them. Yes, depending on how you do your show. If like with you, when you get something like, hey, listen, I may be, you know, I didn't like this movie. Do you really want me to review it live? I will. But and me, I'm just gonna let them know. Like, look, I'm gonna be 100% honest. If I don't like it, I'm gonna let you know. If I like it, I'm gonna let you know. I'd love to have you on the episode so you can kind of discuss with us. Yes, gobble gobble, mother effer.
Oh God, yeah, I know, I love that. And David Gregory says, "I disagree. Dead Man is the worst movie ever made," and he's in it, so we got to give him some respect on that. And
Dave,
actually, can we review this on your show?
Yes, I want to, and I want you on, Dave, because that will be a fun time. We'll plan something out in the very near future. Mick, can you set up a group chat with all of us? Then we'll kind of.
Yeah, I would definitely. I'll get something started so that way we can work it out. I would love to have inside information on that as well.
That would be a fun review, and then also because with the Scary Snobs, and I'll talk to my co-host Jason. I hope you're here, but Dave, would love to have you on for an interview at some point on that as well.
Yep. That's gonna, I love what you guys are doing over there. You and Jason are really good together, but also on Horror So Sturdy, you and James are awesome together too. You have some great co-hosts. I wouldn't know what that's like. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna trash Casey. I love him.
It's fun, and it's funny dealing like working with the other co-hosts when you have multiple ones because everybody's personality is a little different. And then Popcorn and Pints is like the drunk podcast.
I love it. I love when you guys go off on that, and I don't get because I'll throw it up on the TV, and if it's on the TV, I can't comment along.
Oh yeah, unless you're the phone. Yeah,
like Shake, Master Shake, who's been popping in the comments today. You guys should know him. He's one half of Math vs. Smash Betting Bros on the Scene Snobs channel, and he also hosts, which is on tonight at 7 p.m. tonight, is Master Shake's moderately entertaining Mixology Minutes. If you haven't checked that out, it's great. I love that he actually left doing that show. He's like, I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. And that was one, especially during the pandemic. I was like, I'm really enjoying this. I don't want this to go away. So when he came back with it, I was very happy.
Oh yeah. And Master Shake is someone else I would love to have on my show at some point. But yeah, Dave, I definitely want to get you on both shows because that's something I want to do with these shows is like on Horror Research 30. I would love to review movies with the indie people, people who create the movies, the indie, and on Popcorn and Pints actually. If it's non-horror, so that's two platforms right there. Mm-hmm. And then with the Scary Snobs, with the the indie horror people come on there for some sort of interview or something. We want to do them kind of different than just your regular interview, kind of make it more fun, kind of make it easier on us, and we'll figure it out. I know some more details, but I want to do it like that because I want, as much as I want myself to grow, I want you guys to grow as well. So it's like if you see, say David, for example, he comes on Horror Research 30 and he comes on the Scary Snobs. Now people see him in two different things, and maybe Jason will have him over on 3 Geeks. Now you're on 3 different platforms where people see you, they hear about your movie. If you love or hate your movies, that's fine. But people still see you, hear you, get to know you and all that fun stuff. And I just think these platforms, these type of things are important for the way, doing stuff like this, to be seen, to be heard. And this is a cool way to do it for doing something that you love. And that's another reason why I have 3 freaking shows. I do the gaming, I do watch parties, because I love this communal thing. I love the gamings, the movies, and just watching them or discussing them with others. Again, going back to as kids growing up, I've been doing this since childhood, just in the house or outside versus this. And yeah,
I'm gonna send you his email. He did post it, so that way you can email him and work it out with him to have him on the show. I will say this, in terms of reviewing and stuff like that. You see a lot of stuff that just, and I've had arguments with people over there's no such thing as a completely bad movie. Everybody argues. So like, yes, there is. Yes, there is. I'm like, listen, there's some bad movies. Do not get me wrong. And there's movies I'll never rewatch again.
Yep.
but there's always something to be appreciated within the world of filmmaking. And I think that's what we need to see. Oh, David, thanks a lot, man, for joining in today, and appreciate you commenting. You had some great insights, and I am going to check out If. I'm sorry we couldn't really get to that at the point, but I did see it with Malcolm McDowell from 68. I will definitely check that out, and it goes in line with the bullying and weapons in school. So
have an amazing weekend, David. Thank you for joining, and be great. Buy somebody a cup of coffee, everybody. Buy a cup of coffee.
I love that, dude. I love it. I love the idea of buying somebody, just buy somebody a cup of coffee, or even like, I always love when I get in those chains at like the drive-through, and like everybody's paying for the person behind them. And it's just always so much fun. I'm like, I wish this could go on all day long. Yeah, I hope it does. I hope people do it all day.
Here and there, what I like to do is either by my job, there's a little coffee shop. I'll just get like, say, a $10, $15 gift card and just give it to somebody random. Or I'll either give it to somebody random or, give it to the next, or tell them, here, give it to the next person type of deal. Just because those small gestures can just make somebody's day, if they can afford that cup of coffee or not. Or I'll give it to somebody homeless. But those small gestures, because just think, Mick, like, say if you go out to Dunkin' or wherever, and I'm going to grab a coffee for me and the wife, and it's already paid for.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that is. And yes, you have the money, but it's just like, oh wow, that feels good. And you may leave a few dollars. Okay, you know what? Let me do this. Let me leave. I was gonna spend $15. Let me leave that same 15 here for the next person and the next person. And it's just small things, small gestures helps a lot.
And that's a great point too, Shake, for anybody who's worked in the service industry. The people in the kitchen are very much, they're faceless. So you don't always appreciate the people who are putting the time and effort into the food that you're eating and stuff like that. And, you can with bartenders, you can with servers, you should always respect them and such. They're doing such a hard work to serve you. But the ones in the kitchen, the busboys, things like that, the people cooking, the chefs and such, it's very rarely are they taken care of. And it is a nice gesture. I like to buy the kitchen a pint when they get off work. Here's some money, put it on me for everyone. Because really, how much is it? Maybe you have 3-4 people in the kitchen.
A couple dollars.
Now, if I'm watching the menu, I don't know if I'm buying all those people in that kitchen a pint. That's a lot. That's buying the house. I'd rather buy the actual customers pints because there's way less of them.
but no, you're right though, Master Shake. With something like that, just buy a pint. Even if you just got it for a couple, like, okay, tonight I'm gonna get a pint for you 4. Next time I'll get a pint for you, so on and so forth. Have a jar, even just have a thing. Okay, my loose change, $1. Let me throw that in there, and then with this, instead of me going to buy something senseless or nonsense, I'm going to get gift cards and hand them out. But gift cards to somebody get something to eat, something to drink, and just hand them out. That way, sometimes you might see somebody homeless on the side of the road. Here's a gift card. This place is right up the street. You can go get yourself something to eat, something to drink. You're good. If they don't want it, that's different. But still, just again, and it's all about helping. It's all about helping.
I agree.
Again, people, Blood Lake is a bad movie, but I'll never tell you not to. I won't recommend it, but I will never tell you not to watch it.
That's fair.
I will never recommend it, but I'll tell you never not to, because it's one of those things to where they created, like you were saying, the art and beauty behind filmmaking, which I've never been a part of. I would love to be a part of. They did it. At the very least, they made the film. They made their film. Am I going to talk crap about it? Yes, but they did it, and it's all in fun. And I mean, I've gotten people to watch. That's the funny thing, though. You don't usually hear people, yo, this movie was horrible. This is the title. You should check it. Like, I tell people to watch it, but I don't recommend it in a weird way. I don't know how that makes sense, but it's what I do. Like, I'll tell Mick, oh, check it out. I don't recommend it, but check it out. And he watched it 3 times.
3 times.
Me. And
granted, I didn't want to watch it 3 times. I was prepping with you.
I made you guys do it on a Does It Suck for 1, 2. As a matter of fact, I think I was the reason why you guys are like, okay, now. No, it wasn't for the Does It Suck. It was the other one.
No, it was. I forget exactly why it was, but like you could nominate, and you did. And I was like,
you had to be a part of the Patreon, and you guys were like, you know what? After this movie here, stop sending us bad movies, please. We're gonna take a break for the bad
plot roast. That's what it was. You sent it for plot roast.
Yes.
You know what? That wasn't even the movie that sent us over the edge.
Really?
Yeah, because we watched Blood Lake, and it was like,
It must have been back-to-back movies, though, huh?
It was, because it was Blood Lake, and we're like, and Casey was like, "Wow, that was rough," and I was like, "Yeah, I know," but I was like, we watched it, we reviewed it, and the very next choice was The Stupids.
Oh, that's right. I gotta watch that. That was a funny episode.
No, do not watch that movie. Trust me.
No, I'm putting
Do
on
yourself a favor.
I'm putting on the popcorn and pines wheel because we watch a lot of bad stuff on there. And to punish them, I hope they hate it because I know there's gonna be some Nicolas Cage stuff on there. I already know there's gonna be some He has 2 horror movies coming out. He has the vampire movie that's coming out this year,
Renfield,
and then Bloody Disgusting said he's gonna be in another horror movie. I'm just like,
oh yeah, he loves doing horror. And the fact that you and I, we are proof positive of what we were talking about earlier, that 2 people can have two different views on something so polarizing and completely be on completely different sides of the aisle of it and come together and still work together and be friends, is that I love Nicolas Cage. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. And you hate Nicolas Cage.
It's one of those things. I know everybody, you don't have to say who it is, but there's just like that. And I'll just use actors and actresses because it's not that serious, like a whole, you know what I mean? Like a beat, to where you see them on screen, you hear their voice, anything, and it just angers you. Like I had to review over on Popcorn and Pints, I had to review that the movie that he plays himself, or he's basically himself in it.
I love that movie.
I was like, Mick. So I'm watching that with my wife the whole time. She was like, "You looked mad the whole time watching the movie." Like this is like when I say I don't like Nicolas Cage, this isn't for show. This isn't to be funny. Like I cannot stand him at all. Yeah, one man's trash.
Don't you mean national treasure?
Oh, and I'll say one man's trash and another man's treasure. I guess it's trash for me. And here's the thing, like what you're just saying. You're absolutely right. I married a Nicolas Cage fan, so and you know I love her. So it's just
and yeah, exactly. Everybody can come together, and I'm not going to try and convince you, other than I'm going to sit here for the next 20 minutes and try and convince you to love Nicolas Cage. No, it's Nicolas Cage to me. He's a guy. Every performance he does, you get somebody different. I know people like to think that they don't, and the guy that we see, the guy Nicolas Cage was being when he would go, "Oh, it's Nicky" in that movie, where it's him with like blonde hair and it was like the old Nicolas Cage. That's him realizing and saying, "This is who everyone thinks I am. And I'm going to show him." And he's got to be there because he was very much a part of his life. And then like the rest of the movie is like him just being eccentric and acting out as like, this is who everybody thinks Nicolas Cage is. And for a guy to be that self-aware, you know, and say like, all right, I'm going to play it this way. And even a director to come out and be like, no, it's not really who the guy was, you know, but he was like, I'm going to go with it and see what it is. But again, I don't want to dwell on Nicolas Cage because I know how you feel. And I feel like now I'm pontificating a bit and I don't want to go that route. I do want to go, I want to kind of close things out today before we let you go and I end the show. I would like to tell you I love you and you can come back anytime you want. You just say the word and I will send you a link.
If I'm off on Friday, I'll be here.
Hey man, you're always welcome. You know that. I have great conversations with you and love having you here. And right now Casey's taking a hiatus. So I was going to start looking for some guest hosts to come in. But again, if you're ever free and you want to do it, love to have you. You add to the conversation in such amazing ways. And with that being said, we have a pretty significant horror movie coming out. And you're my horror guy. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey comes out this weekend. Mm-hmm. What are your initial thoughts? And are you excited for it?
I can't wait. Like, as soon as I heard this movie coming out, and it started playing here on Wednesday, but I was like, I was talking to my wife. We were going to go Wednesday, but I was in the office. I was like, you know what? Let's just go Sunday. I cannot wait. I'm excited as hell for it. So we're going Sunday night. We're already playing on it because we're trying to see as many horror movies in theaters that are playing locally in theaters as we can this year. And I'm just like, I have not even seen the movie. I've not read about the movie. Not only do I want to see this, I want more already. Like I want more from our childhood show, cartoons, whatever, into horror. and Cocaine Bear comes out next Friday. I'm going to see that next Thursday on opening. Like, my wife was like, "You really want to see this?" I was like, "No, look." I was like, "We're going that Thursday. It comes out at 5. It's right up the street. We're going to, we have to see this opening night." I was gonna go Friday, but I didn't want to cancel the watch party for Friday. So I'm like, Thursday before the pod, we have to go. And I'm excited. Like, I wish this was out when we were kids, but I've been watching horror since I was 5. That's probably a terrible thing. But like, I cannot wait because and that's why horror is my favorite genre, because it can go in any silly, like, it can go in any direction, and people are still gonna go out and watch it. I'm people that's gonna go out there and watch it. And I'm happy I'm even more happy that's going to the big screen. I wish that these movies were released into more theaters instead of just like the Regals and stuff like that. Like, put it into the theaters that only cost $5-6 to get a ticket. Because those are the ones I like. Those are the ones I love going to, and go, $40, you can get your tickets for you and your significant other, whoever you go with, and get some snacks and be good. $40 going to Regal, you're getting in the door.
You know what? That's a funny thing. I love that you say that, and I actually do want to have you back on either this show or the Scene Snobs Podcast to talk about the movie going experience and the different types of movie going experiences. So let's put a pin on that one, because I really want to have you back for that conversation.
Yes, please do.
And because I'm going to find the movie. We made a movie, and it was a documentary in college called The Movie Going Experience, where we talked about different types of movie going experiences, like from the local cineplexes to the more mainstream theaters to drive-in theaters and more. And that was like 15, almost 20 years ago. But so like, I would love to actually have that debate and that conversation with you. Especially because I know you go to the theaters, and that's something we were going to talk about very soon anyway. Now with Shake and what he's saying, he has a severe barrier to this film. I just can't do it because of his childhood. I get that. There are a lot of people who are going to feel this way. Disney's Winnie the Pooh is probably one of the most recognizable characters in history.
Yeah, besides maybe Mickey, right?
Yeah, I would say, if I had to. Yes, in today's world, Mickey Mouse is probably the most recognizable animated figure ever. People will say Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes, but I think even time has kind of passed that point.
And the reason why I say Mickey is because if you look at it now, I could be wrong. But I feel like a lot of children may not know about Bugs Bunny because it's not as popular as it was when we were kids and growing up. Yeah. Even maybe like our teen years, and it's kind of like Looney Tunes in general. You don't really hear about it like you used to. But Mickey, I mean, because of Disney, you see it. It's the Disney ears. I mean, every time people go to Disney, they see Mickey. Every time you see a Disney commercial, you see Mickey. And it's just, yeah. So I want a horror Mickey movie. I want a horror SpongeBob. Yes.
SpongeBob is a good. Yes, in today's world, SpongeBob is a hugely recognized. I think if you showed SpongeBob to any kid, they would know who it is. But I think Mickey Mouse surpasses that only because of the amount, to the spread of which, Disney, like, because he is the face of Disney. So you're not going to get like, I'm not saying Goofy, I'm not saying Donald, although very recognizable. Mickey is on everything. You wear Mickey ears when you go to the park. You do all of this stuff. Mickey is the most recognizable, whereas SpongeBob, not a lot. Like, my kids know who he is, but they don't watch SpongeBob. We don't have Nickelodeon.
I'll even say it to this, as to you, Master Shaker. The reason why I'll say Mickey too is because my parents know who Mickey is, and then my niece knows who Mickey is. My parents may not know who SpongeBob is. I know for a fact my dad's probably never heard of SpongeBob. He's heard of Mickey Mouse.
Oh, yeah. And there is no one I can confidently say in this country. Actually, I'm just going to use this country, but I do think this is it could fit all over the world. There is no one in this country, aside from having just been born, that doesn't know who Mickey Mouse is.
Yeah. Mickey Mouse and Snoop. Everybody knows who Mickey Mouse is, and everybody knows Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, but I mean,
even
you should.
even as kids, just because he's just, and I'm not even talking about the whole weed stuff, just all the stuff he's involved in and connected with, commercials and everything. He's cool. He's cool. Like, everybody is just like, Snoop is the guy. Like, if he came to me right now I'd leave the show out of respect for Mick. But if he was standing next to me right now and say, "Hey nephew, you want to light one up?" I'm not going to turn that down. Mick
No,
and
I wouldn't either. I'd be right here with you doing it.
If he walked through that door, just walk through that door. Come on, Mick, cancel the show right now. That's someone you just don't say. No, I'm smoking with Snoop.
But he'd come on and he'd do it.
Yeah, he would.
That's why we love Snoop. Snoop became such a character in his own right from where he started until now that when he pops on, he's so recognizable. Yeah, my kids know who he is. Everybody loves him. And the thing I love about Snoop Dogg is he's transcended that whole 90s gangster rap vibe to become such a, like, I mean, look what the guy does for youth groups and things like that today. And what he's done with donations and the fun that element that he adds to all the shows he goes on.
He used to coach a football. He used to have like a little football league and coach a football league. And I believe some of them kids are in the NFL right now or made it to the NFL. That's amazing.
Yeah, he loves football too, and it's great. And his best friend is Martha Stewart.
That's just awesome.
It is amazing. I love it.
It's funny because it's so opposite. And if you look at them, you see them like, one of these two did time. It was her.
That's true.
Snoop is like Snoop. Just talking to him, he's like everybody's uncle. And Shake, I didn't see that, but I didn't hear that. I mean, but I'd check it out. His child affirmations. Snoop.
He actually has a children's song out that talks about like caring for yourself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean the guy goes into everything, and it's funny because my kids, my son started Dare, and now you'll appreciate this. I got nothing against weed. I never have. I've been surrounded by it my whole life. I never did it. I always chose not to because it was illegal. I was like, I just don't, I don't want to focus on doing this, and even like when I gave up drinking and such too, it was the same. It's like, my focus could be put more somewhere else instead of doing illegal things or stuff. And that's how I rationalized it. But when it became legal, ask Casey, the day it became legal in Virginia, we had a show to celebrate it.
That's awesome.
And now I take a gummy every night. It helps with my back pain and my knee pain, and it's nice. It mellows me out. We have some on I'll take a gummy before a show just to kind of chill out and have a conversation. And so my son starts Dare. Now I remember doing Dare. You remember doing Dare?
I do.
You remember the things?
I remember the song.
I don't remember the song, but I do remember doing Dare.
All right, I won't sing it out, but it's D. I won't do drugs. A, won't have an attitude. R, I will respect myself. And E, I will educate. That's weird. I remember that. I haven't heard that since like middle school.
I mean, and it was maybe middle school for me, or it might have even been earlier. I don't even remember when I did Dare. But I did it in a time where I know it was the 80s, early 90s, and the Just Say No movement and all that stuff was going on. And it was a big deal. And like all the commercials, especially marijuana, like it was just, this is what's going to happen to you, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, but it's not happening to anybody I know. Like I knew a lot of people who were on deeper drugs. That yes, I saw a lot of horrible things happen there. And recovery is not easy, but like I've never seen it with weed. So I never had that stigma or that feeling like you do weed, you're a drug addict. Like, you're doing weed, whatever. So my kid is now in Dare, and he asked the cop, he goes, "Is weed bad?"
Oh,
and I guess the cop who's running it was just like, well, and he gave a good answer to where it's acceptable for kids. I think, like, is it bad? He's like, anything that you do, in overabundance or whatever, can be bad. You have to moderate everything. And, my son goes, well, is it as bad as drinking for you? And he goes, no, but there are things that, there's downfalls to each side and all these conversations. You could tell it was probably, like, I wasn't there, but you could tell the cop was probably Like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, what is his parents teaching him?
Mhm.
And it's because we talked to him. We're like, no, we don't. I don't think it's bad. That's my personal opinion. I don't,
Yeah.
but I've seen what these things can do, and you need to learn about them, and you need to understand. Now you're talking
Yeah.
about the opiates and things like that. But dare in general, and the fact that a dare cop could even shine sort of a light on and say, no, it's not that bad. It's there's downfall, but like you'd get tripped up because how can you justify it being bad when it's legal?
That's true. And I mean, if you want to take it a step further with that, alcohol is way worse than weed.
Way worse.
Way worse than weed. I'm not saying that there's probably never been any violence over weed or because of weed, but alcohol, I mean,
over weed or because of weed, not on it.
You'd be too chilled. Like, you'd be too chilled. You'd
get more done if you actually sat down, maybe smoke some weed and talk.
And that's the stigma I hate about marijuana, is that everybody that smokes is lazy. Like, no, like like you're saying before a show, sometimes I'll smoke before I watch a movie. I sit down and more focused. Before I'm gaming, I sit down, I'm focused, and it gets me. And I like it because it makes me more jumpy, especially when I'm gaming like a horror game, which when I'm streaming it makes it more entertaining for people watching. And it's legit jumps just because I'm high and you're like just so locked in. Of course, it's not for everybody, and yes, you should use it responsibly.
Oh, of course. Anything, though.
Yes.
Like guns.
Yes.
Like cars. Like anything should be used responsibly.
Exactly.
If you're going to abuse it, you shouldn't use it. Oh, get a t-shirt made.
Boom.
You're going to use it. You shouldn't abuse it.
There you go.
So with that being said, it is 9:50. I'm going to kick you off now so I can do the sign off and play the video. Yes. I want to say thank you so much for coming on, man. This was such a fun conversation. I mean, granted, we talked about a lot of heavy stuff, but fun in a way that we could actually have a conversation. We could talk to the people in the comments, and we didn't solve anything, but we asked some questions and we put some stuff out there.
Of course, man. Anytime that I'm free and I can come on, I will. And I had a great time. These conversations are important. It's cool that, just to throw in the whole racing, different races, you can see people talking about this, but they're important conversations to have. And I want people to see another side of me besides the silly side you see on my shows, because I'm going to keep continuing to act that way. Yes, here and there, we do have the important conversations on there, but it's cool to see other sides of people as well. And kind of, you're like, oh, this guy, he's not just a goofball. He really does have a mind. Yes. But thank you for having me on. I had a great, amazing time. Make sure you guys go check out the Scene Snobs, the Scary Snobs, Horror Research 30, the Z Network, Popcorn and Pints. Be great to each other. Be good to each other. Check out Master Shake Show. Check out everybody's show that has a show. Be great to each other this weekend. Give everybody each other a hug. Buy somebody a coffee or an orange juice, whatever they drink. And I'll see you in your nightmares.
I love it. Thank you, Sturdy, and I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Have a good one, man. Anytime.
Later, man. Guys, that was amazing. I always have a great time talking to Sturdy. He's wonderful to have on. And I just enjoy his presence. And, thinking about it, and as we go on, another presence that I really enjoy is Entertainment Earth. Now, if you don't know what Entertainment Earth is, it is one of the top collector sites for things that we really enjoy as geeks. Check out this site. Check out the things they have. They cover the gamut. Star Wars, Funko, which you guys know I love, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Masters of the Universe, Lego, the whole nine. You can go through. Look at these figures. They have book bags for Frozen and other things. There's just tons of great collectibles that you can go, oh, I want those keychains. I love this. There's so many great things. They're already pushing the Fantastic Four figures because they're casting for Sue Storm. So they're with it. They know what you want. Go check them out. You can find some very cool things. And the cool part about it is we have an affiliate link, and we would love for you to go and check that out. It's in the description below. Entertainment Earth is where it's at. If you're a collector, you can find tons of great stuff on there. And with our affiliate link, you can get 10% off on your whole purchase. And if you spend $39 or above, you also get free shipping with that 10% off. So go check out Entertainment Earth, entertainmentearth.com. Go down to the link below, click in there, and let's just have some fun and talk about it and do some collecting. All right, guys, as we go on, we're kind of finishing out the day. I appreciate you guys for joining us. I appreciate Sturdy for jumping in, being a part of the conversation. SnobNation, I love you. You guys are all awesome. I do want to point out one thing before I play the video of our messages and stuff. It's Horror Night with the Scary Snobs is out now. You can go check it out. We'd love for you to see the show. It's Sturdy, who you just saw, and he was co-hosting with me today, and Jason Taylor from Three Geeks Podcast. They're doing it up. It's a great time. We also just did a review. It's a spoiler and non-spoiler review. We always do our reviews now with non-spoilers the first half, then we let you know we're getting into spoiler territory. So go check it out of Quantum Mania. It's up on our YouTube channel now. Remember, tonight is Master Shake's Moderately Entertaining Mixology Minutes. It's going to be a great show, so go check that out. Because, as you know, I am one of the co-directors of the Skyline Indie Film Festival this year for the 11th annual. I am super stoked. Submissions are open right now. Go down in the link below, skylineindiefilmfest.org. Go submit your film. If you know filmmakers, put it out to them. We're really trying to push those submissions right now, and we'd love to have it. We got some comments here. Oh, Sturdy is back. You just want to say, I will definitely be buying from the site and definitely using your link. I saw a few things I want, and the wife and I would want. Yeah, that's awesome. Love the show. We love you, man. Thank you again for being on it today, and we appreciate all of you for being a part of it. Go join our Discord before March because it is going to our Patreon. So you'd have to be a patron to be a part of it. But you can join up this month while it's open. And if you want to check out our Patreon, we have 6 tiers available now. You'll see in the video it says 3. We have 6 tiers available now. All different things, all different perks. We're going to be having exclusive shows come straight to there. We're doing all of our live shows except for this one. We're going to be doing our live shows over there as well. So if you want to be a part of it, be a part of the Snobs Nation, join up on our Patreon. You can go check that out. Link is below. Thank you guys again for joining us. I'm Mick Manhattan, one part of the Scene Snobs. There's a big cog, just one cog in this big wheel that's turning. Casey, my cohort on a lot of stuff. Of course, Master Shake, Tim, his brother. We got Sturdy just joined the fold. We got Jason just joined the fold, and we're growing all the time. So we appreciate you being a part of it. Go check it out. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us for more on social media, but just listen to the messages and you'll take it from there. All right, everybody. You have a great weekend. Thank you again. I'm the Scene Snob, and I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Love yous. Hey, guys. Mick here. Thanks so much for watching the show and supporting us. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming back and joining in the comments. But, guys, I really want to thank you, our patrons who are out here supporting us, helping us keep the lights on. Really, truly appreciate you. Tim, Paul, Stacy, Matt, Aaron, AJ, George G3, Chris S, Dale, Chris H, Dan, John B, Ron, Jason, and John W. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Guys, we have 3 tiers available right now. As of March 1st, we're adding 2 more tiers for a total of 5 with tons of perks. So go check out patreon.com/thescenesnobs. And join our SnobNation Discord channel where the moderators are keeping everything going and we're having really fun conversations over there and more. So go check it out. It's free to join and just be part of the SnobNation. And remember to embrace the absurdity. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. We have tons of great shows coming out and more. Our lives are over on Patreon, but you can check out the SnobNation Morning Drive live show on our YouTube channel Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern, and tons more shows coming up thereafter. We have great shows like the Scene Snobs Podcast, Betting Bros, Math vs. Smash, Real Combat, movie reviews, and tons more. We have fun over there, and we think you will too. If you're looking for great merch, go over to the snobsmerch.com store. Use promo code SNOBS for 10% off of your order. We have tons of shirts, mugs, everything, stickers, all different types of designs. We love it. I think you will too. So go check it out and let us know what you think. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms. We are at the Scene Snobs everywhere. You can also follow Casey at Planos21 on Instagram, at Casey the Madman on TikTok, and at Twitter Night on Twitter. Guys, tons of fun stuff and new things coming out every day, so go check out our content there. Thank you guys again. We are the Scene Snobs. Embrace the absurdity with us, and we love you, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody.